Good morning, America. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's the live desk, your go-to live desk, in fact, for all things inside and outside of the Beltway. Today, we expect a press briefing with Karoline Leavitt, the superstar, the White House press secretary in the second Trump administration. At 11 o'clock Eastern, it is 8 o'clock on the West Coast. Welcome again to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. A big week of news dating back to the last week, somewhat carrying over into this week with peace in the Middle East. It seems on the verge. We know that Steve Witkoff is in discussion with Palestinian authorities, also the Israelis. We know Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu visiting President Trump just last week at the White House for this American and Israeli-driven peace accord, something similar to the Abraham Accords 2.0, or Abraham, if you're looking at the original Yiddish, the original pronunciation from the Hebrew. So something to look forward to, as President Trump has put it, 3,000 years of fighting in this area of the world that has seen so much bloodshed as we approach tomorrow, October 7th, the second anniversary of the terrorist attack by Hamas on innocent concert goers, something that should have not happened to the American people, to the Jewish people, to people of European descent as well. So many people around the world coming for what should have been a fun and festive time. It's now turned into mayhem and absolute chaos. And Hezbollah joining in on the brutality from the north, moving a lot of northern Israelis down towards Jerusalem. And some of those settlements need to be reclaimed, and the Israeli citizens move back into that region because of how much agricultural and farming takes place towards that Lebanese border. And I've seen the videos, I've seen photos myself. I had the opportunity, my own mayor went in late summer of 2024 to view the damage roughly over 1 year later with a team of 13 bipartisan mayors across the country. And he said he came back a changed man as a result of it, and gave a presentation and just really asked people, put your political ideology at the door and just listen to this presentation, because it was a god-awful assault on humanity. And that's something that the legacy items in the media really have not covered in detail. The people that had to hide out in safe houses, the people that were brutally tortured and murdered in front of family members, a Jewish woman who was forced to make food for the Hamas terrorists and had to sit there wondering if her life would be taken as a result of she was relatively immobile and could not get out of the region fast enough. So we hear of those stories, but now Hamas looking like they will return the 48 remaining hostages, whether dead or alive, to be back with their families, reunited in life and death, potentially to have the proper burials, but also to stop this incredibly cruel suffering. And we know that President Trump has been joined by countless Arab and Muslim countries calling for this peace in the region. So we look forward to reporting what could be groundbreaking this week between Hamas, the Israeli government, and also the Middle East as a whole, because Turkey, Egypt, and the UAE, Jordan, also Qatar, among others, working on this groundbreaking peace deal, and President Trump thanking them from the Oval Office late on Friday. We also know yesterday, in case you missed it, President Trump had a glorious presentation in front of 10,000 sailors at the port of the Norfolk Station, the naval station there, the largest naval base in the entire world, off the port where USS Harry S. Truman rests. He also watched a display of military might in the celebration leading up to 250 years of America's Navy, their birthday on October 13th. We'll celebrate that all week and next week as well. A display of sheer might, as President Trump saying, the most incredible naval force the world has ever seen. We have playback of those videos and that very encouraging speech that took place just yesterday. A gorgeous day in the Commonwealth of Virginia off the Chesapeake Bay and the James River. Norfolk, a beautiful place in Southeast Virginia. Thank you to All Family Pharmacy, the go-to pharmacy taking care of you and yours in this flu and COVID season. Also, $60 million being poured into cancer research in the free Sunshine State of Florida. So now, no better time than 25% off ivermectin and mebendazole, an additional 10% off with code RSBN10, RSBN10. Scan that QR code right now. Again, for ivermectin, mebendazole, now 25% off. They also have NAD Plus and methylene blue. This can help streamline with sleep, with stress, also to get back in shape with biohacking products and weight loss plans, all brought to you by this online pharmacy that is challenging the status quo. For example, they have 200 essential medications, including Tamiflu, and again, these biohacking principles and weight loss programs, in addition to, again, ivermectin, mebendazole, and antibiotics, antivirals, emergency medical kits that can make a massive difference for you to have this fall flu season in your medicine cabinet. Easy to take on the road with you as well. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN does not require any pharmaceutical, only a pharmaceutical note, but not insurance. No red tape, no bureaucracy. If you order at 11:06 now, you can have it at your doorstep in as little as 48 hours. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, changing the ball game with affordable pharmaceuticals, as President Trump championing that just last week with his health team and partnering with Pfizer in those efforts to produce pharmaceuticals here in America, not in places like China. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, already ahead of the game. Scan that QR code there now. As we thank Monetary Gold for wealth, securities, preservation. Call today, don't delay. Ask how you can eliminate your IRA fees permanently and for life. It's RSBNforthegold.com, 888-617-7994. Get the Presidential Gold Guide. It's complimentary. It has Mr. 45 and 47 on the front. And Robert Kiyosaki, a friend of President Trump, has disclosed that this year, 2 banks failing in this year alone. 16 under the first and second terms of President Trump, and nearly 500 under Obama. So if you add that up together, inflation, $37 trillion in debt, paper money, it just doesn't cut it for your life savings. So protect what's yours, your retirement, your pension, everything you worked hard for, whether it's to buy that first house or create generational wealth for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. Monetary Gold can help. Pick out a specific plan. It's wealth, it's security, it's preservation. RSBNforthegold.com. Thank you to Kalshi.com/RSBN as well. Who will win the Nobel Peace Prize? Is that President Donald Trump? I think so. I mean, 7 victories for peace over the course of his tenure in office. That's remarkable. We're not even at a calendar year yet, considering these tribal and generational wars that were ignored by past presidents and a media that said, oh, don't look over here. It doesn't matter that there's Christian prosecution or persecution throughout the world. President Trump has stated that, stating it at Charlie Kirk's memorial on September 21st. There is one religion that is discriminated against unlike any other, and it's Christianity. How about Zelensky and Putin? Will they finally meet before January? Will it be bilateral or trilateral? Both the Russian and Ukrainian presidents calling on President Trump to meet with them in person. Probably a good idea, because we know Zelensky and Putin do not have any love lost there. There's simply pure hatred, and it's terribly sad ever since August 15th and 18th with the peace accords happening in Anchorage, Alaska, and Washington, D.C. But Putin continues to pummel the Ukrainian capital of Kiev with drones and targeting civilians. It's absolutely terrible to look at something like that. But also with fall baseball, who will win the NLDS? All of those competitions happening leading up to the World Series. Will the Los Angeles Dodgers repeat? A very possible situation. So scan that QR code now, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Trade on anything. It's music, it's sports, it's culture, it is politics. And you can make your voice heard and maybe win some money from that as well, as Karoline Leavitt will hold a press briefing at 1 o'clock Eastern this afternoon on a gorgeous day in the federal city. Speaker Mike Johnson just gave another press conference roughly an hour or so ago for your viewing pleasure to see the update on the Chuck Schumer shutdown. Let's go to the House Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Well, good morning, everyone. Here we are again on another day of Democrat shutdown. So I wanted to come out and just share with you some thoughts, answer some questions, tell you, I guess, reiterate the simple truths of how we got here. Those truths have been obscured just a bit because the Democrats are in a relentless effort to spin the facts, but it's always good when the facts and the evidence are on your side. And I don't want you to listen to the arguments of politicians. If you're watching at home, I want you to look at the real facts. And I'm going to try to here in a very abbreviated summary manner to present those to you. And the facts are very clear. Okay, so the first fact is by way of reminder, how did we get here? Why is Washington tied into a knot right now? Well, I became Speaker almost 2 years ago, and I was frustrated, as most rank-and-file members of Congress are, frustrated about how Congress really doesn't work that well for the American people. That's why people are frustrated about it. We don't spend money responsibly here. We haven't for many years. And the reason for that is because typically, for the annual funding of the government, it's done in a back room. Literally, there's a deal made by the top 4 leaders in Congress, and that's hoisted upon the members, usually at the end of the year, right before a holiday, in an omnibus spending bill. Sometimes the bills are thousands of pages long, and it's always said that few members have fully read it or understood it. That's largely true because they weren't involved in the process. So when I became Speaker, I've been doggedly determined to make this House and the Senate work again, to do right by the American people, to get the process, to rebuild the muscle memory, to get back to the way it is supposed to work. And what does that mean? It means that Congress is supposed to carefully deliberate over 12 separate appropriations bills every year. Why? Because we divide the spending of the taxpayers' funds into 12 categories so that everybody can go through that. And all the elected members, the duly elected representatives of the people, can come here and have a debate and a discussion. We do that through the Appropriations Committee, they're the specialists on it, the members of the House and Senate who work on it around the clock, 365, every day of the year. And then they put together a product. It goes to the full body in the House and then the full body in the Senate, and they work on that together, and they come up with the most efficient and effective way that they can build consensus around to spend the taxpayers' funds. Well, we started that process back this year, and I'm so proud to tell you that we're rebuilding the muscle memory. It's like pushing a boulder uphill, but we've got it done. And we worked 12 separate appropriations bills through the House Appropriations Committee. I mean, they worked hard in a bipartisan fashion, Republicans and Democrats. They worked on it steadily. We got 3 of those bills on the floor. We debated them on the floor. We passed them on the House floor. And we sent that over to the Senate. Meanwhile, the Senate passed 3 of their own bills off the floor. That hasn't happened around here in many years. And all of that process that I just described takes a lot of time and a lot of work and energy and effort. And our appropriators, while they were working in good faith, they ran out of time. Why? Because the end of the fiscal year is September 30th, not December 31. And so the clock was just running out. So what we did, because Republicans are in charge of both houses right now, is the responsible thing. Leader Thune in the Senate and I in the House, we sat down with our appropriators and we said, let's come up with a simple stopgap measure to keep the lights on and keep the government open so that appropriators can finish this very healthy process for the people they represent. And so we put together a very simple, clean, continuing resolution. Why do we say it's clean? Because there's nothing to it. It's 24 pages. It's the bare minimum. It just says, keep the status quo, which, by the way, for all my Democrat friends, is the Biden-era policies and spending that we haven't been able to fix yet. We're in the process of getting appropriations done to repair all that, but we needed more time to do it. So in a bipartisan fashion, Democrats and Republicans got together and said, you know what? Fine, let's extend this until November 21st. The Democrats in the House agreed to that. That was the date. We put that bill on the floor. We passed it out of the House in bipartisan fashion. And we sent it over to the Senate. Well, now we expected, I thought, that Chuck Schumer would do what he's always done. The man has served in Congress 3/4 of my life, I think. And he has given impassioned speeches over the year, most recently in March of this year. that you have to fund continuing resolutions. You can't shut the government down because it's irresponsible and painful for the American people. He was right in March. He is not right today, which leads me to fact number 2. Fact number 1 was how we got here. Fact number 2 is why are we in this mess? Why did Chuck Schumer change his tune, and why is he now saying exactly the opposite of what he said 6 months ago? A picture's worth 10,000 words, okay? This is a copy of the Washington Examiner. Zoom in on that, all right? If you can't see this at home, I just had this on my desk on a big stack, and I found it. This is published March of 2025, March 26 exactly. It's a picture of Chuck Schumer looking very upset, very angry, walking out with a box, and all the House Democrats depicted their character, saying that he's an enemy of democracy. Why is he an enemy of democracy? Because the far left base in the Democrat Party has turned on Chuck Schumer because he did the responsible thing, get the lights on. Why? Because they want him to show a fight against President Trump. So Schumer doesn't want to be in this situation again. So he said, my gosh, he got his staff together and he got the far left wing of the party. He said, what do you want? What do you want me to fight on? So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on health care. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly, Republicans are the ones concerned about health care. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix health care. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was to fix health care. Health care is broken in America. It's too expensive. The quality of care needs to rise. We need more access for more people, and we have lots of ideas to do that. But that issue is for debate in the next 3 months. It always was. We have members working on that. The tax credit, the subsidy you've heard about that expires December 31st, there's a lot of thoughtful debate and discussion that has already been going on about that and will go on about that. But that's a December 31 issue. So Chuck Schumer is scrambling. He has to have an issue. None of their policies are very popular. So they decided to lob onto health care, and he decided to claim to all of you that that is the issue with government funding. It is not. Those are two totally separate things. The clean continuing resolution would simply keep the lights on so that the members in the House and Senate can have those debates on health care. We were always planning, and we have lots of ideas on the table on how to fix it, but we don't yet have consensus on it because it's very complicated. We have time to do it. The month of October is a critically important time for us to get the House and Senate working on that very issue. But they're delaying it because they needed a red herring. So in his desperation, we get to fact number 3. In his desperation, they decided to create the red herring. They decided to claim that this is all about health care, which the September funding issue never was. That's a December policy issue. He tried to create it as a September funding issue. And in his desperation, they hastily filed an outrageous counter-proposal. It is a wild wish list of big government liberal nonsense that we can't do. Their priorities that they crammed into this. Now remember, a simple 7-week stopgap funding measure, the CR, that we passed out of the House in bipartisan fashion was sent over. And Chuck Schumer filed a counter-proposal. Now this is his words, not mine. These are not Republican talking points. These are the facts. 2 exhibits real quick, as I've shown you before. This is page 57, an excerpt of his bill, section 2141, where you see that right there that they want to repeal the health subtitle of the Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill, the Republicans got signed into law July 4th. The Working Families Tax Cut, we're so proud of that because it has so many amazing things for all the American people, a marquee piece of legislation. But among the most important were the reforms that we did to health care. Why? Because Medicaid, for example, is broken. Medicaid doesn't work well. It's underfunded, and it was full of fraud, waste, and abuse. And we took our opportunity to fix that, and we did. So what did we do? We went into Medicaid, and we said, we got to stop the waste and abuse. We got to make sure that illegal aliens are not on Medicaid. Medicaid is intended for U.S. citizens only, not illegals who break our law and come over the border. And we've got to make sure that young, able-bodied men who do not have dependents are working and not riding the wagon. Work is good for individuals. It's good for the communities they live in. It's good for their own well-being and for the people around them. And so we said, don't sit on your couch and play video games. By the way, also not a talking point. There was an AEI study, I think one of the organizations that polled this, and most of these young men who are not working are sitting around literally playing video games. Get back to work. So we put that in the law. And the big thing was making sure that an estimated 1.4 million illegal aliens are no longer riding that wagon either. Why? Because Medicaid had to be strengthened. Medicaid is intended for the elderly, the disabled, and young pregnant women, as I use an example, who are in difficult situations. They need the resources desperately, but the resources are being drained by people who were never intended to be there. And so Republicans got busy and fixed it. We put it in the big, beautiful bill. So, back to fact number 3, I guess I'm still on. Chuck Schumer files a counterproposal and says, we want to reverse all that. Well, among the effects, among the things that he would reverse, is putting illegal aliens back on the program. Don't take my word for it. Look at the evidence. Over here at Exhibit B. This is the list of the actual provisions that would be reversed if Chuck Schumer's language was voted on and passed. Among those, it would end, see, these are the provisions, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, these are the provisions of our bill that did each of these things. We ended Medicaid funding for most non-citizens. They would reverse that, and it would cost American taxpayers, hardworking Americans, an estimated $6.2 billion. And you see, you just go down the list. The California loophole, you know what they did in California? Gavin Newsom and the team out in California? They expanded Medicaid to cover all able-bodied illegal alien adults. These men who could be working or whatever, I mean, they're not even citizens, never intended by Congress. They put that on the tab of the taxpayer. And so we reversed it. Chuck Schumer would repeal that. He would repeal those repairs, and this is what it would cost you. Do the math. I won't go through each line, but it's on the website, speaker.gov. You can pull this up. It amounts to $192 billion, $192.8 billion. So almost $200 billion that Chuck Schumer wants to put back in. Also, by the way, while he's repealing our health subtitle, he would also repeal the $50 billion that Republicans put into the bill to support our rural hospitals around the country. Why would Chuck Schumer do that? Because he's desperate for political cover. Let me keep going on this. By the way, these are enhanced COVID-era spending under Joe Biden for all this healthcare stuff. It was stolen, fraud, waste, and abuse, rife throughout the programs, and we fixed it, and they want to reverse that. By the way, this has always been what the Democrats wanted to do. You all remember, I know, the 2020 presidential election. We've all seen the video over the last week or so, where they asked every single candidate for the Democrat nomination on the stage running for president, is it your intention to give health care to illegal aliens who come into the country? Every single one of them raised their hands, including Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and that explains a lot of this. All right. That's the facts. And I went on all the shows. I've been on all the programs, as many as I can, to just lay this out. And on some of these programs have been followed by Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries back and forth. Not one time have they been able to refute what they themselves put in writing. I hope that you will ask them about this. I hope that you will ask them, if it is indeed not your intention, why did you say that? Why did you do that? This is a key part of what they put into their counterproposal, which, by the way, amounts to $1.5 trillion in new spending that they want to strap onto a 7-week, simple, 24-page stopgap measure to keep the lights on so we can do our work. Fact number 5, don't ask me, because here's the answer. Why aren't you negotiating? There's nothing for us to negotiate. The House has done its job. The House Republicans right now are working hard in their districts all around the country. They're meeting their constituents' needs. They're going and explaining and providing the answers, and they're trying to help them navigate through this madness. Some of our Republican colleagues, we had a big conference call on Saturday. Many of them are working throughout. They're making trips to all their rural hospitals in their district to help them navigate and access this fund that Chuck Schumer is trying to take away. Republicans are on the job. We want to improve health care. We have ideas and plans to do that, to fix the COVID level madness and adjust Obamacare so that it works for more people, so you have higher access to care and the costs are reduced. And so they're doing that right now, but there's nothing for us to negotiate or to debate right now, because the House already did that. The House did its job. We passed our bill. We did the job to keep the government open, and now it's on the Senate Democrats. And that's the final fact, and I'll take your questions. Fact number 6, hold on, wait. It's just a tease. The ball, I have to finish my case. Here's my closing argument, okay? The ball is in the court of the Senate Democrats. There's only a handful of people in the country who can solve this problem. There's 47 Democrats. Well, 46 and one who caucuses as independent, I think. I lose track. But there's about 47 of them that caucus together as Democrats, okay? Here's the problem, remembering from civics. We don't have enough Republican votes to fix this because it takes 60 votes in the Senate to break this impasse, to open the government. There's only 53 Republicans in the Senate. We need some Democrats to be thoughtful and responsible and do the right thing. Because why? Because real people are being hurt in all these political games. As Chuck Schumer is trying to cover himself and not have another series of articles like this, okay? That's why this is happening. There's a trend in New York that Chuck Schumer represents of electing Marxists. They're about to elect an actual Marxist as the mayor of New York City, the once cradle of capitalism, the largest city in America. It's stunning. And I think it's stunning to Chuck Schumer, too, because while he's a far-left politician, he's not nearly as far-left as these guys, as they want him to be. And so he's trying to find political cover. And in doing that, he's hurting real American people. Who's being hurt? Women, infants, and children on their nutritional programs that are now stalled. Veterans' health services that they desperately need and demand. Go down the list. We've got our troops, Border Patrol agents, TSA agents serving, trying to protect America without pay right now. Half the federal civilian workforce is effectively laid off right now, furloughed. They can't go to work. They don't have the money. Chuck Schumer, for political cover, decided to turn off the funds, and real people are getting hurt. FEMA services. I keep saying this because I live in a hurricane state. We're in the middle of hurricane season, and flood insurance policies cannot be renewed or purchased right now because Chuck Schumer is playing political games. This is real pain for real people. I can go on. There are articles written in the last 2 days. Some of your outlets wrote about low-income Medicaid or Medicare recipients, for example, who have been able to receive health care at home because we expanded that through telehealth and all that. All that is shut down. Yet people with autoimmune deficiencies who are also disabled, they cannot go visit the doctor's office. So thankfully, mercifully, they've been able to be treated at home. But all that just stopped. So people are canceling their health appointments with their physicians that is vitally important for them to stay alive because Democrats over here are playing games. We have one plea and one plea alone. We need a handful of Democrats to stop the madness, reopen the government so that we can get to these critical debates about the year-end policy decisions with regard to the further reforms to health care. Plain and simple, that's where we are. That's the facts, and everybody can draw their own conclusions. Don't listen to the words of politicians. Look at the actual evidence and the facts, and I think the case is very clear. Yes, sir, because you're standing up. Go ahead.
Jeffries just challenged you to debate on the House floor today. Do you see yourself debating him, or would you be
when the poll says that about 13% of the people approve of your messaging, then you make desperate pleas for attention, and that's what Hakeem Jeffries has done. Look, my friend Hakeem had his shot. We debated all this on the House floor, as you know, before we passed our bill. He spoke for 7 or 8 minutes. He had all of his colleagues lined up. They gave it their best shot, and they argued, and they stomped their feet and screamed at us and all that. And still, we passed the bill in bipartisan fashion and sent it over to the Senate. The House has done its job. I'm not going to let Hakeem try to pretend for these theatrics. I mean, this is a Chuck Schumer decision. The ball is in the Senate's court now. The House has done this. We don't need to waste time on that nonsense. Those debates have been had. Hakeem is a friend and a colleague. I respect him, but we all know what he's trying to do there. Yes, sir. I'm anxious to get my folks back. And look, I want to bring the House back into session and get back to work, but we can't do it till they turn the lights back on. We need Chuck Schumer to reopen the government, and as soon as he does that, we'll bring everybody back here. Yes, back row. Yes, sir.
Why not call the House back into session? Because with respect to what you said at the start about the importance of passing funding bills, there are still 9 funding bills to pass in the House.
Yeah, well, we've passed them through the House committee. They're out of committee, and we'll get them on the floor. And the appropriators have been working, and they are working as we speak, on trying to figure out which packages of bills we can move to the floor next. And there's some really good discussion that's been had. I myself have spoken to Democrat appropriators on the other side about these things and our commitments to move that and do it. I'll tell you, this is not some sort of confidential thing. I had I think, a fruitful discussion with Senator Patty Murray about 2 days ago, a day or so ago. And I told her it is my full intention that if we break this impasse and we put these bills together, we have 3 of them in conference committee right now. Whatever the conference committee comes up with, I will put on the floor. I'm ready to go. But we've got to open government up so that they can move to that next level, so that conference committee can get that work done. That is small d democracy at its best. You get R's and D's, everybody in the room, and they hash it out, and whatever that final product is, we will move through the process. So we need to reopen government to do that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I know your contention is that the ACA subsidies don't end until the end of this calendar year. Do you disagree with the Democrats' position that these insurance companies are setting their premium rates now, and that people are going to have to make open enrollment decisions in the very near future?
Yeah, Yeah, they've been saying that some of the insurance companies will be sending out notices in early November. The last time I checked, it's October 6th. We have the entire month of October. We'll stay here around the clock to work through all these things, but we have to get government open again to do it. They're trying to obscure the issue. We are talking about a simple funding measure that the Democrats themselves have voted on over and over and over. Chuck Schumer, they voted on it 13 times during the Biden administration. This is the exact same thing that was on the floor in March when Chuck Schumer, I should have brought his video and let him give you the speech of why it was so important to pass it. Nothing has changed except the politics. So that's a political issue that they're trying to make out of it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You mentioned that there is no negotiation to be had, but you also acknowledge that funding the government has to be bipartisan. So is the only way out of this for Democrats to completely drop their demands? Is there anything that Republicans are willing to give? And have there been any conversations? It doesn't even seem like the two sides are talking.
I'm so glad you asked the question. Why aren't you dropping all of your demands so that it makes it more palatable for Democrats to join you? I didn't put any on the CR. Leader Thune and I have tried to explain this a few times. There's nothing for us to negotiate. I cannot go to the CR and go, you know what, Democrats, you're right. Let me take out these 3 Republican priorities. I didn't add a single Republican policy or priority or preference to the CR. It is 100% totally clean. It is an exact status quo replica of what we're doing right now, which again is Biden-era policies and spending levels, to our great chagrin, but in good faith. I presented that because I didn't want to play games. We are responsible. We're not going to shut the government down for people who desperately need these services and all these things that I've said are stalled. And so we didn't, no gimmicks, no tricks. There's nothing that Leader Thune and I can go to Chuck Schumer and say, you know what, okay, we'll pull this off. Would that make it better? No, I don't have anything to give. I didn't put any of our priorities on the spending measure because, again, all we're trying to do in good faith is get 7 more weeks to finish that appropriations process that we've been all so excited about. Jake.
Who will, if you're not able to extend these subsidies, which is a possibility, it seems, who will own the political impact from that if health insurance does go up 200%?
That's putting the cart like a mile in front of the horse. I believe that the subsidy issue, that's the December 31 issue, is a complicated one. It hasn't worked well. It's filled with abuse. We have a lot of ideas on how to improve upon it if indeed it goes forward. And I mentioned yesterday, there's 535 members when you count House and Senate, and there's probably 400 different ideas on how to fix that. But we need the next couple of weeks to have those vigorous, deliberate debates, which is how the process is supposed to work. So I'm not going to forecast how that comes out, and neither could any of you, because those debates haven't been held yet. And that's kind of the irony, because Chuck Schumer is saying something that he knows isn't true. He's saying, oh, you guys snap your fingers. You and Leader Thune go in the back room and tell us how that's going to be resolved today so we can reopen the government. That's impossible for me to do. I have to have the input of all of our members so that they can figure that out. So that's part of the process. Last one. Yeah.
Speaker, can you just talk a little bit about your reference to conversation you had with Senator Murray? Have you been personally lobbying any Senate Democrats to switch their votes in support of the CR?
No, they haven't exactly been ringing my phone off the hook, okay? I'm open, always have been for dialogue with anybody about that, but I think she wanted an assurance from me that what I'm saying is true and that we have every intention of moving the appropriations bills, and I said, yes, ma'am, of course it is. I say the same things privately that I say publicly. We are consistent, and that's why it's easy for me to stand up here and share the facts. When the simple truth is on your side, you have nothing to hide from. I'm just presenting this to the American people. This is the 4th time we've done that. I hate to drag you all out and go through all the details, but I've got to put on the case over and over because repetition apparently is the key to this. People are starting to recognize this is not a Republican shutdown. It is a Schumer Democrat shutdown. Again, why? Because they needed political cover. It's shameless. It is sad. Real people are hurting, and it needs to end. They'll have another opportunity this evening, and I sure pray, and I hope you all will, that a handful of additional common sense people on the Democrat side will change their votes, reopen the government, so we can get back to all these issues as we desperately want to do. Thank you all so much for being here.
It comes down to a simple question. Is the sky blue? Is the grass green? It's the Chuck Schumer shutdown. How many times does Speaker Johnson have to repeat himself with a pool of reporters who want to create sometimes a narrative at certain legacy media outlets? And that's why it's good we have the new media telling the truth and bringing it to you without cutting off his entire press conference and his speech. Yes, they observed Yom Kippur. Yes, the Republicans are working in their districts. House Speaker and Republican leadership continue to put in the necessary hours, and especially from the House side, they did their job. It went to the Senate, the 55-45 split. The filibuster, I thought the Democrats hated the filibuster. Chuck Schumer used that to stop this healthy CR. So it's time for Democrats to roll up their sleeves and actually work with Republicans for the American people. And I'd actually love to see a House debate between House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Heck, why not? We could host it right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll fly to Washington. We'll make that happen on the House floor. I'd be happy to moderate that one because that would be a lot of fun to watch truth versus more and more and more lies and smoke and mirrors. So we'll see what happens with that, as that would be primetime viewing this week. Thank you to angelpaste.com, the miracle that is the original vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals in the Miracle Cream. Also a great orange option, which is filled with vitamin C qualities and, again, non-GMO, no chemicals. Their facial spray for the guys and the gals to go paint that town red. Experience the miracle that is angelpaste.com. Really an extraordinary company, Christian owned. They also hire veterans, and they're based out of Spring, Texas, right off the Gulf of America. Experience the miracle that is angelpaste.com. And remember that crisis in Flint, Michigan, with all the lead pipes and the bad water? It's ongoing. You'd think America would have its act together, but think again, lead and heavy metals being found in pipes that are older than your grandparents. Still existing in America, especially in Democrat-run cities. That's why covepure.com/RSBN is the go-to reverse osmosis system. You can see there with the video the temperatures you can use for hot water, warm water, lukewarm, all the way down to cold to get your day started off right. Whether you need some coffee, some tea, always good to wash the system out in the morning with morning prayer and also with delicious H2O. The thing about this is you don't want your kids drinking tap water for a number of reasons. Number one being that JAMA Pediatrics, doing a study with their doctors and scientists, children losing 2 or more points of their IQ if they are drinking regularly through the tap. Also, Cove Pure's water purifier is one of the best investments you can have. They have a Clearwave technology, removing 99.9% of the impurities, fluoride, chemicals, leads, agricultural runoff, and yes, hormone-disrupting blockers such as birth control. You may ask why that is. Well, water treatment centers don't fully get all of that out of the water. And when we take certain medications or pills, the body doesn't absorb it at 100%. So that's why these things can cause brain damage, cancer, long-term health issues, especially lead in the old pipes. So protect what is most important for you. Set the appropriate temperatures, as you can see right there in the video, at covepure.com/RSBN. $200 off right now. Drink pure, live pure. It's covepure.com/RSBN. Now, let me ask you something else here. How much of time do you spend browsing on the internet? Perplexity has produced Comet. It is an AI-powered browser, And you can unlock 1 month free of Rumble Premium. Browse at the speed of thought with Comet. Start today, pplx.ai/RSBN. Searching, scrolling, typing endlessly can waste copious amounts of time on the internet. So Perplexity put together Comet in order to change the way you interact with your web browser. Think about it as a personal assistant living within your web browser. So you can let it do things, give it the questions and find the answers. So it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would want. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, send a calendar note over to a business partner or a friend when you're trying to make life easier. Let me show you how this works. Type in, find a great Mexican restaurant in Austin, Texas. I'm going to be there next week for that business meeting. So they book it. It then collaborates and sends that invite to your business colleague over to John with all the details. So how easy is that? Number one, Comet doesn't give the answers. It actually just gets things done for you. So instead of wasting 20 minutes or 2 hours, so we'll get this done in a matter of seconds. Because it is a web browser, Comet can actually use all of the accounts to get that done for you and get the action across the web. So again, scrolling, searching, booking, it does all of it. Number three, it takes actions like a human would online, filling out the forms so you don't have to. What does that lead to? Peace of mind, clarity, and you get more things done throughout the day, especially with multitasking. I learned that roughly later on in life. I always would brag about, I am the greatest multitasker. Well, I learned over the course of the last couple of years, I am not one to be a multitasker, as I think most people are not great multitaskers. So why not use AI technology, Perplexity, powering up Comet for you? Browse at the speed of thought. Get started today, pplx.ai/RSBN. And in case you missed it yesterday, President Trump speaking to 10,000 plus sailors and family members at the Norfolk Naval Base, the largest station in the entire world where the Chesapeake Bay and the James River come together. It's roughly close to a 4-hour trip by car from Washington, D.C., about 3 hours from Quantico Base, the Marine base that President Trump and Secretary Hegseth were at last Tuesday. So lots of interaction with leadership and command in the military, and also those naval aviators who put on quite a display for the president and the first lady just yesterday. And Mr. Producers, if we have it ready, if you can share the warm-up speech from First Lady Melania Trump, very encouraging, the naval sailors with the hoo-yahs and the hoo-yahs. So it's a lot of fun to have all of that happening, because it's the hoorahs for the Army, the oorahs in the Marines, and the hoo-yahs for the Navy. And Mr. Hey Hey, the call sign yesterday of the young private who was putting on such a great commentary of that show. Feel free to go back after this broadcast, of course, and watch all of our special Sunday coverage from the Naval Station Norfolk yesterday. An extraordinary time for our sailors, for our Marines, and naval aviators, again, putting on a display of might. President Trump aboard the USS George H.W. Bush, which became, temporarily at least, Navy One, when the president being aboard of that with First Lady Melania Trump. Also accompanied by Monica Crowley, the great ambassador, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Veterans Affairs Mr. Doug Collins, and countless others who have been Navy SEAL veterans, from Congressman Dan Crenshaw to Congressman John McGuire, who we had on the show just yesterday, Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who was the physician to Presidents Trump, Obama, and George W. Bush. So we have that speech, that warm-up speech from Melania Trump yesterday.
Hoo-yah, Navy! Hoo-yah, Navy! Hoo-yah, Navy! an honor to be with you to celebrate the 250th year since the United States Navy was officially established. Generations of sailors have kept America free because of their presence on the high seas. Your strength, bravery, and sacrifice inspires us all. The President and I just attended an extraordinary demonstration, an inspiring display of skills that reflects the very best of our Navy. For me, it brought back fond memories of my visit to the USS George H.W. Bush in 2018. I will always remember the pride and professionalism of the sailors I met on that vessel. I witnessed the enduring spirit of America's Navy, which propels every mission and lives on to every sailor who serves. Now, it is my privilege to introduce someone who holds our military close to his heart, not only as the Commander-in-Chief, but as a proud American who believes deeply in the men and women who wear the uniform. Please join me in welcoming my husband, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Moments prior to that speech, the president and the first lady had the unique opportunity aboard USS George H.W. Bush for a flyover. And the F-18s going roughly at, my understanding, breaking the speed of sound. They did not flinch. They were right on the flight deck, which is something really to see, especially with a ship that is a Nimitz-class super carrier. To have that on active duty and the President of the United States aboard is really quite a sight, because you might have the opportunity to see that, but they tend to be decommissioned. I've had the opportunity on a couple of occasions, whether it be Pearl Harbor to Charleston, South Carolina, to enjoy our battleships of past, but to have an active carrier showcasing what the American Navy can do now 250 years young. It's really quite a sight. If cut number 9 is ready, Mr. Producer, we could show that flyover of all of the action for President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to view or review what is happening in America's Navy.
It didn't show the plume. I missed it. It didn't show the plume. I missed it.
President Trump reviewing the naval aviators just yesterday at Naval Station Norfolk. An amazing display of American might, and something very important, because China has pledged by 2027 to be the strongest Navy in the world. And we know what they're doing to threaten the Pacific Fleet, also to threaten the island nation of Taiwan. And they are actively trying to change the opinions of the United States foreign policy on that very matter. I don't think that that will happen, but we'll see when President Trump ultimately sits down with President Xi, whether it be here in the United States or in China. But we do know that with his trade deals with the use of tariffs, it's really put China on the back burner and up against the ropes, and especially with making pharmaceuticals more affordable and made right here in America, as this great company is working towards those efforts. Sometimes pharmacies can be a real pain in the neck, but not allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Ivermectin and mebendazole now going for 25% off with an additional code RSBN10 for that extra 10% off we've been running for some weeks now. So scan that QR code there because we know $60 million being invested in the free Sunshine State in Florida for cancer research. Ivermectin, mebendazole, two of those 40-year-plus FDA-approved drugs that can assist with that. In fact, one received a Nobel Peace Prize way back in the day until some wanted to spin another narrative with the pandemic back in 2020. But there's also NAD+ and methylene blue that can help with sleep, with stress, also with dementia and Alzheimer's. 200 essential medications, including emergency medical kits and Tamiflu, so essential to this fall flu season. Also, biohacking products to weight loss products right there for you at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So go ahead, scan that QR code now. Get the extra 10% off, but now 25% off this limited time, ivermectin and mebendazole. So take advantage of that today at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Monetary Gold, the best in the business for wealth, security, preservation. Call today. Do not delay. Grab your complimentary presidential gold guide. Ask how to eliminate those IRA fees permanently for life. Say good night while you grab gold and silver, hot commodities that have stood the test of time. RSBN4thegold.com, 888-617-7994. That's 888-617-7994. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate those IRA fees permanently. It's RSBN4thegold.com/RSBN. Yes, RSBN4thegold.com. Once again, 888-617-7994. My goodness, there are strong economic indicators. If we can play number 11 or show that on the screen, Mr. Producer, President Trump stating that just out. Think about gold and silver, but also a strong economy. All good news for the holiday season. Early prices are down while tariffs are making our country an economic power again. Also, virtually no inflation as stock markets continually hit record highs. The best of all worlds for the USA. Now, if we could just get down that $37 trillion of debt caused by President Trump's predecessors and the neoliberals and the neocons in both Republican and Democrat ranks, that would be ideal. And President Trump trying to scale back all of that from, again, his predecessors who provided this $37 trillion of debt and this reckless spending going back to the use of CRs from 1998. So that's a huge thing to reflect upon as we move forward in this golden era of America. Also, again, President Trump working hard to continue funding the military during this shutdown. He stated that just yesterday in his speech to those sailors over at the naval station in Norfolk. Number 5, Mr. Producer, if that is ready to go, just stating that they will continue to get pay, will continue to make that happen as this is ongoing. And we can hear those words right now from yesterday.
The U.S. Navy always stands for America. As your commander-in-chief, I will always stand for you. I promise you that. You know that. That's why you voted for me in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And I want you to know that despite the current Democrat-induced shutdown, we will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's all coming. It's coming. And even more because I'm supporting the across-the-board pay raises for every sailor and service member of the United States Armed Forces. But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it.
And this was the reaction from sailors across the board before, during, and after the speech. Trump loves the military, and the military loves President Trump, with cut 3, just USA chants going around. You could hear some Trump chants in there as well, as we've seen numbers skyrocketing in recruitment for those who want to serve in our military.
God bless the United States Navy.
And for those wondering if there was a YMCA celebration, do not let your hearts be troubled. And if you always wish to opine, you can write feedback at rsbn.tv, because we read those emails, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But like yesteryear, 2024, and I'm assuming in 2026 with the midterms, cue that YMCA cut number 8, Mr. Producer. And you're looking at the USS Harry S. Truman, a fabled ship as well, also stationed at Naval Station Norfolk. What a day that was. A privilege to be here for special coverage on Sunday. Again, you can go back and watch all of that coverage, hopefully after today's coverage, as we expect Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing from the James S. Brady briefing room at 1 o'clock Eastern, roughly 1 hour from now. We'll take a quick commercial break here at Right Side Broadcasting Network for our sponsors. Stick with us. I'm Robert McNeely. It's the Live Desk, your go-to live desk. Don't change that dial.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network at noon o'clock on the East Coast. A gorgeous day in the Federal City. I'm Robert McNeely here at your go-to live desk at Right Side Broadcasting Network. 60 minutes from now, a scheduled press briefing from the James S. Brady briefing room at the White House. We'll bring you there live for Karoline Leavitt, the superstar, as President Trump puts it, and she has been truly an absolute superstar of a press secretary. And the proof is in the pudding. People are with this administration. They are with the American people in turn, and Democrats have led to this obnoxious shutdown. We have another great video for you, cut number 13, showing just that as the Democrats continue to cry with the Palestinian Senator Chuck Schumer and his pal in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, really don't want to come to solve problems, but they want to cut funds for rural hospitals and fund health care for illegal aliens, all paid for by you, the good American taxpayers.
The U.S. Navy has always been the iron will of a proud and mighty nation, pushing forward through the currents and through the spray of raging combat and the fog of naval war. From the American Revolution until today, the story of the U.S. Navy is a tale of loyalty, sacrifice, and commitment stretching back 250 years. The Navy has never failed to hunt, kill, and to win. Through it all, the United States Navy has kept the stars and stripes soaring high and proud above. You've conquered raging oceans and braved ferocious storms to vanquish America's enemies. America's Navy never, ever gives up the ship. We own the skies, we stalk the depths, and we rule the seas. God bless the United States Navy.
What a day it was yesterday at Naval Station Norfolk for President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. You know, debt from credit cards can be a real nightmare for most Americans. Actually, on the scale of questionnaires this past year, debt coming from those credit cards being of utmost concern. So the bank's profits, the creditors win, and families lose. Every call, every fee, every high interest trap is another reminder that the game is rigged against you with big banks and the powers that be. So break free from debt with pdsdebt.com/RSBN. Get your free assessment. There's no credit score required for this. So see if you qualify in 30 seconds. Again, no credit score required. Secure free quotes, custom options to get yourself out of debt. PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands fight back, cutting these debt limits for them, ending the calls, putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. Whether you're struggling with credit cards or personal loans, medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to tackle all of this for you. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan for you, the American people. There's no minimum credit score required. So that's great news, because others do require that, or hit your credit score even more doing a review. So they're here to help you save more, pay off that debt faster, and ultimately get you back on your footing, putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS is A+ rated from the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star review from Trustpilot. So why go with this great company? Well, PDS Debt has helped hundreds of thousands to get out of debt. It's your money, it's your future, and don't let the system take control of you. So pdsdebt.com/RSBN, it is the go-to to break free from debt today. pdsdebt.com/RSBN. There's also mypillow.com/RSBN, the 6-piece towel set back in stock. Normally goes for $70, 70, now down under $40 for $6 great towels. count me in. It's a very limited quantity. So call today. Do not delay. 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by shopping now at mypillow.com/RSBN. Saving with code RSBN. mypillow.com/RSBN. Truly your go-to. Thank you to Mike Lindell, the purveyor of free speech, the defender of election integrity, and who knows, maybe the governor of Minnesota in the next couple of years. We'd love to see that. Thank you, Mike Lindell, and mypillow.com/RSBN. Over 2,000 different options on that site. If you like what you see with your go-to live desk, it is a pleasure to be with you here nearly every day to cover what's inside and outside of the Beltway. Your 45th and 47th President of the United States, your 50th Vice President of the United States, and the 119th Congress. From views of last year's 2024 historic election, support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate. You can text RSBN to 801-801. There's also a great address to send checks and money order our way to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6. That's Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama, 36830-1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we continue to tackle the legacy corporate media agenda that might not be for the American people at all times. And that's why it's given birth to a revolution in new media, peacefully and patriotically getting the truth out to you. And more than anything else, right, left, or center, we want you to see the full speeches, the press conferences, the hearings, so you know exactly what the heck the government you put into place back on November 5th of last year is doing on a daily basis, and how that's affecting the federal city inside and outside of the Beltway and your neck of the woods. So again, rsbnetwork.com/donate. You can text RSBN to 801-801. Thank you for your support here on the right side of history as we see a live shot of Pebble Beach, and what a glorious day in Washington, D.C. This time of year is absolutely stunning and truly quite beautiful. As we await Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing in less than 1 hour, stick with us. We'll take you there live at 1 o'clock Eastern. In case you missed it, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth giving some inspiring speeches over the course of this weekend, dating back to Tuesday at Quantico, the Marine base, to speak with military leadership, generals and admirals in attendance. But also that big win with Navy over Air Force this weekend, 34-31 on the gridiron, to the speech yesterday at Naval Station Norfolk. We'll take you there to the Secretary of War.
My goodness. Well, good afternoon. How we doing, sailors? The absolute best of America. I'm honored to be at the world's largest naval base. Now, I'm the only thing between you, the First Lady, and the Commander-in-Chief, so I'm going to keep this very brief. Looking out at all of you, I know you know why the President always says we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, most ready military on the planet. And he's going to make sure we keep it that way. This is the perfect way to mark 250 years of the United States Navy. You know, President Trump has made our mission clear. America first and peace through strength, with common sense at every turn. At the War Department, it is the War Department, we're committed to that core mission of peace through strength. And for the Navy, that means more sailors, more subs, more ships, and more munitions for all of them. The Navy and the Marine Corps embody the resilience of our country. Nobody in the world does it better than the United States Navy. Always remember this. Fact. You are not civilians, you are different. Sailors, SEALs, Marines, you were set apart for a distinct purpose. Your diversity is not your strength. Your strength is your unity of purpose, your shared mission, your love of country. Generation after generation, battle after battle, ship after ship, sailor after sailor, you have set the tone. The story began with John Paul Jones when he declared, "I have not yet begun to fight." Today, we have a commander-in-chief who fights for all of you and fights for our country every single day. A commander-in-chief who guarantees that you, the warfighters, have everything you need on the high seas to deter our enemies and, if necessary, win overwhelmingly. We have a president who appreciates your dedication. He appreciates your service, your sacrifice, and that of your family as well. And as I always tell every service member, every sailor I see, he has your back. So warfighters, on behalf of everyone at the Department of War, thank you. Thank you for your commitment to America's Navy. You stand the watch 250 years later. God bless you. And may God bless our great republic. Godspeed. Thank you.
America 250, celebrating not only the birth of our grand republic, but next week, October 13th, marks the 250th birthday of the United States Navy, just months after the birth of our Army on Flag Day of June 14th. If you remember that great, big, bold, grand, wonderful military parade from this summer, an overcast, slightly rainy day, but it was just trickling. It's almost as if President Trump could hold off the rain. Now, if he could, and I know the naysayers will say, now, why are you saying that, Robert, that he can hold off the rain? Of course, it's in jest, it's in fun, as we tend to have a lot of fun with the far left because they can't meme and they can't joke and they just can't have a smile on their face. And I think it's because they just don't like America. So it's sad to see that at times, but we'll keep on keeping on here at Right Side Broadcasting Network with giving the positive outlook on why this nation is so far ahead in 250 years. Yes, we have our problems, but President Trump and the selfless leadership of this cabinet coming together, subject matter experts on countless issues to help save this nation. As you look at a live shot there, the north lawn of the White House and also just outside of the West Wing for a potential press gaggle if we see it before the press briefing at 1 o'clock Eastern. A live shot of what they call Pebble Beach, those green tarps. That's where our colleagues in the media all stay ready to go with their live shots on their respective networks, but also in case there is any gaggle of, say, borders are Tom Homan or Secretary Noam, Secretary Gabbard, whoever it might be visiting the White House, Secretary Bessent can come right over from the Department of Treasury and be right there for the press. This is the most transparent administration in American history and the most transparent online pharmacy. When most pharmacies fail, this one does not. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN there for you. Ivermectin, mebendazole, now 25% off. And these are cancer-fighting drugs that you might have seen in Florida, the free sunshine state of Florida, now giving $60 million, approving that for more research down south. Also, code RSBN10. We've been running that for some time now. RSBN10 for an extra 10% off. Code RSBN10. Scan the QR code there for you right now at 12:15 Eastern. You can have these life-saving medications in as little as 48 hours right to your door, because sometimes the pharmacy down the street does not prescribe things like ivermectin, mebendazole, also NAD plus and methylene blue, which scientists are finding now not only help streamline sleep, but also can fight dementia, Alzheimer's, and other ailments. Tamiflu, also big and available here at All Family Pharmacy now that we're in the cold and flu season. So head on over to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for life-saving medications, over 200 in fact, including emergency medical kits right there for you at your go-to online pharmacy, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. No red tape, no bureaucracy, no insurance, doesn't matter. Just a pharmaceutical note and doctors, nurses, and pharmacists ready to help you on the other end. Scan the QR code today, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and Kalshi.com/RSBN with all of the questions facing this country domestically and abroad. It's music, sports, politics, culture. Who will win the Nobel Peace Prize? I think we know the proof is in the pudding. It should be Donald Trump, the 45th and 47th president of the United States. Will the president of Russia meet with the president of Ukraine? Zelensky and Putin truly don't like one another, but will this potential trilateral meeting with President Trump happen before January? Will the Los Angeles Dodgers get through the NLDS into NLCS and then also win the World Series back-to-back? Will they have to go through my Chicago Cubs first? God willing, although, my goodness, that Saturday game against the Brewers, that was a nightmare. Hopefully we do better tonight, Cubbies. We'll see what happens at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code now. Trade on anything. Again, music, sports, culture, politics, and more. It's Kalshi.com/RSBN as we're looking at 12:16 on the East Coast. Good afternoon to all of our fellow East Coasters, and good morning to the rest of America. And hello to you from around the world. Sometimes we have international viewers seeing what's happening in the United States of America. And God be with you wherever you call home, wherever is your neck of the woods. So feel free to write in where you're watching from today. Feedback at rsbn.tv. President Trump, again, having perhaps his grandest speech this year to Navy sailors and aviators, the Marines as well, in the Department of Navy, celebrating the October 13th birthday of 250 years. A week early, why not? Because weather suspended this on Friday, but President Trump said no shutdown's going to stop our celebration for the United States military. And a couple of comments he made just yesterday in a roughly 45-minute or so speech to the sailors who are so bravely stationed at the world's largest naval station, Norfolk, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But in case you missed any of the comments, cut number 4, here's a quick 3-minute synopsis of what President Trump had to say.
We're honored to be joined today by service members representing every part of this great naval tradition. Our incredible surface warriors are the reason America's enemies tremble at the sight of a Navy ship haze gray or underway. The instant U.S. carrier, cruiser, or destroyer breaks across the horizon, every tyrant and adversary on the planet knows their choice is very simple. It's leave America in peace or be blown up in fire and fury never seen before. All over the world, people know of the skill, nerve, swagger, and sheer attitude of the boldest and most daring pilots on the sea, the U.S. naval aviators, and I just got to witness it with Melania. They land screaming jets on pitching decks in the dark of night, with no room for error. There's no room for error. The greatest pilots in the world. And while Navy pilots rain down pain from above, the greatest adversaries fear the daring deeds of our silent service below. They prowl and strike from crushing depths, unseen, undetected, and unstoppable. They are our brave submariners. Where are the submariners? And they are brave. The most lethal weapon in the world, I will tell you, nobody knows where it is, and what it carries is nothing that carries weaponry like that. And we're 25 years ahead of any other country when it comes to submarines. Nobody's even close. Nobody can match us. No roll call of Navy warriors would be complete without recognizing some of the fiercest and most elite commandos in the history of war. They are the toughest, and there's nobody tougher. There's just nobody. That's what they tell me. There's nobody tougher. Called the Navy SEALs. What do you think about the Navy SEALs? Where are the Navy SEALs? We're not going to mess with the Navy SEALs. They are great. Thank you very much. Incredible people. And of course, our enemies have learned to dread that special cast of warriors who have charged forward almost everywhere America has seized a stronghold or stormed a beachhead. They call themselves the Leathernecks, the Jarheads, the Devil Dogs, but we revere them as the United States Marines.
Over 10,000 sailors, family members there on hand just off of the port of the USS Harry S. Truman. A great day of coverage, so feel free after this to go and scrub back to watch all of that from yesterday, because it was truly a remarkable birthday celebration for the Navy. We also have a photo that I think we could put up there, the Titans of the Sea, number 10, Mr. Producer, that could showcase what was right behind President Trump, as all the sailors got to view what President Trump was viewing as they were waiting for him to speak in the afternoon, of the military might that this Navy does have at recruitment levels that we have seen skyrocketing through the roof, because the warrior ethos is back. Even people like Charlemagne the God commenting that he likes the comments from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth from Tuesday at Quantico, the Marine base, that we shouldn't have any fat admirals or fat generals, that there should be required 2 times a year PT training, that the people coming up, the young privates and the platoon leaders, the riflemen, should all be able to look towards those leading them. As Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has said, when I was in the military, also a Bronze Star recipient himself, writing this in his novel Modern Warriors, that he looked to the top command to lead. That's what they're meant to do, and it should be in mind, body, and spirit, and that readiness to go in the physicality is so important, to lead by example, as this administration clearly is doing, to make America great again. This is now another week of shutdown, sadly, as we look towards peace in the Middle East, positive military and Middle East peace negotiation developments. Cut number 2, Mr. Producer, President Trump sharing this on Truth Social. The fact that there have been very positive discussions with Hamas and countries from all over the world, Arab, Muslim, and everyone else, this weekend to release the hostages and end the war in Gaza. But more importantly, finally have long sought peace in the Middle East. These talks have been very successful and proceeding rapidly. The technical teams will again meet Monday in Egypt, so that's undergoing today, to work through the clarity and clarifying all the final details. And I am asking everyone to move fast. I will continue to monitor the centuries-old conflict. Time is of the essence, or massive bloodshed will follow, something that nobody wants to see. So President Trump has been very clear in that. And sadly, Democrats seem as if they are not on the same page in any of this, as the Palestinian Senator Chuck Schumer continues his lockdown. And in case you missed, cut number 1, Mr. Producer, Jay Jones is a radical lunatic. There's no question. Running for Attorney General against the great Jason Mayaris of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It has just come out that radical left lunatic Jay Jones, running against Jason to be the great Attorney General in Virginia, made sick and demented jokes, if they were jokes at all, which were not funny, and that he wrote down and sent around to people concerning the murdering of a Republican legislator, his wife, and their children. Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor, is weak, ineffective, and refuses to acknowledge what the lunatic has done. Even the Democrats are saying It is resignation from campaign territory. Democrat Jay Jones should drop out of the race immediately, and the people of Virginia must continue to have a great attorney general in Jason Miyares, who, by the way, has my complete and total endorsement. Jason will never let you down. So we look forward to that re-election of a fine attorney general in the Commonwealth. And this is Abigail Spanberger running from the left-wing lunatics in her party. Also would not speak to the fact that she's running against Winsome Sears of Jamaican descent, a black American from the Caribbean who has done extraordinary things, not only serving in the military, but also as lieutenant governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. There was a sign at one of Abigail's rallies which she did not speak to and did not speak it down, saying that if you want transgenders out of a certain locker room, how about getting blacks away from certain water fountains? So a siren song, a token whistle back to the Jim Crow era of the South. How dare that person do that at Abigail Spanberger's rally? And how dare Abigail not speak out against that, regardless of who you're running against, that the racist tropes and memes that are a dog whistle to the South and the Dixiecrat party of old. I thought that was extinct in 2025, but I guess not for Abigail Spanberger. And she's welcome to come on the show and explain herself. But we know that the Commonwealth of Virginia much better off under Republican leadership. Thank you to angelpaste.com, the miracle that is the vitamin B infused cream that is non-GMO, no chemicals. It is quite fantastic to put on your skin to keep it glowing. Also, this time of year with the fall flu season, the coughs, the sniffles, all the stuff that the little kids can bring home from school or even that you could catch at the office, good to have the orange option filled with vitamin C. Again, non-GMO, no chemicals. There's a facial spray that you can use to paint the town red for guys and gals out there, whether it's the first date, 50th wedding anniversary, should always look good out there on the town. And this is Christian owned. They hire veterans out of Spring, Texas and across the country, and their HQ just off of the Gulf of America. Experience the miracle today at angelpaste.com. Have you heard of the crisis in Flint, Michigan? I'm sure that you can remember that from a few years ago. But sadly, under Democrat leadership, many of our urban areas have not changed the lead pipes that are older than your grandparents. And that comes with metals, toxins that are in the water. This reverse osmosis system with Clearwave technology, a leading science and technological advancement in reverse osmosis systems being utilized by covepure.com/RSBN. Get $200 off. Drink pure, live pure with this wonderful machine that's the size of a coffee maker. You could see there in the video that it's easily kept on your kitchen counter, perhaps the den, or in that man cave, whatever it might be, any room in the house, in the office, wherever it could be, easy to access right there. And you can see from the video and from the display, you can actually change the temperature to hot, warm, cold, whatever you'd like to do. Regardless, protect what matters from fluoride in the water, lead, poison, to agricultural runoff, to hormone disrupting blockers like birth control. You might ask, how does that get in the water? Well, water treatment facilities don't get everything out, and in turn, the body does not absorb everything you ingest, and that goes through the waste and through the toilet there. So it's smart to have clean water once again in America. You deserve that. covepure.com/RSBN. In fact, JAMA Pediatrics doing a study that children drinking from the tap on a regular basis will lose 2+ points of their IQ. So protect what matters most. Protect your family. Utah, Florida legislators also passing legislation to get the fluoride out of the water to help with the agenda of Secretary Kennedy at HHS. And there are some governors who are doing this from West Virginia to Montana, all the way down to Florida, all focused on not only being free, but protecting their residents. So join in that movement to make America healthy again. covepure.com/RSBN. $200 off now, as it is getting close to 12:30 on the East Coast. Let's take a quick commercial break for additional sponsors. You're watching Right Side Broadcasting Network's Live Desk. I'm Robert McNeely. Always a joy to be with you on this Monday, October 6th. Don't change that channel. It's Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interviewed the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Karoline Leavitt to hold a press briefing at the top of the hour, roughly 30 minutes from now. So stick with us as we go to the James S. Brady briefing room at the White House. Also, the Democrats continue their clown show, and the shutdown now costing taxpayers roughly $1.2 billion for furloughed employees that have to remain on the payroll, thanks to a 2019 law. And cut number 13, another great video from the number 14, actually. We'll go to 14. It's the week of shutdowns by these clowns, the Palestinian Senator Chuck Schumer and his minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who is always wearing a sombrero for some reason.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
You have to smile and laugh sometimes at the ineptitude of the far left. And as House Speaker Mike Johnson put it quite simply, Chuck Schumer is not that far left, but he has to fold to his psychotic base that it's really becoming, the Democrat Party is becoming a regional party. It's New York and California. And God willing, in 2026, the voters of these states in California, New York, and Illinois can change their own destiny of radical pro-infanticide, pro-transgender, pro-men and women's sports, anti-American policies. I mean, that's where they stand. They have no messaging, and they're trying to grasp at wanting you, the American people, to use your savings, your hard-earned tax money to fund illegal aliens who are more often than not committing atrocities and crimes. The proof is in the pudding. But I would normally save this video as well, cut number 12, Mr. Producer, for like a throwback Thursday or a flashback Friday. But who taught us comedy was none other than the late, great Gipper, President Ronald Reagan, who more often than not, I'm seeing so many comparisons between him and President Trump in this modern era.
Did you hear the story about the kid who was outside the Democratic fundraiser selling kittens? When the people came out from the fundraiser, he was holding up the kittens and he was saying, "Buy a Democrat kitten." Well, a couple of weeks later, the Republicans held a fundraiser in the same place. And when they came out, there was the same kid with the kittens. And he said, buy a Republican kitten. And one of the members of the press who'd seen him there 2 weeks before said, wait a minute, kid, you were selling these kittens the last time as Democrat kittens. How come the Republican kittens now? He said, because now they got their eyes open.
President Ronald Reagan with the gaffes, with the jokes, with always a classic smile on his face, and President Trump repeating in that lineage of good humor, as Karoline Leavitt told a press briefing at 1 o'clock to update us on peace in the Middle East, also this government shutdown, as you heard earlier from Speaker Mike Johnson earlier in the broadcast. An RJC statement on the 2-year anniversary leading up to tomorrow, October 7th, 2023. That's the Republican Jewish Coalition on the 2-year anniversary of October 7th. The RJC members of 1,200 men, women, and children murdered in cold blood, the 48 hostages, both living and deceased, that remain captive in Gaza, and the heroic members of the IDF and Israel's security services who have been wounded and killed defending the Jewish state throughout the course of this war on October 7th, 2023, during Shabbat and on the holiday of Simchat Torah. Evil terrorists perpetrated the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. We will never forget. In the face of horror, the resilience, the patriotism, determination, and relentless grit of the Israeli people has inspired people around the world and united world Jewry in pride and solidarity. And that is quite true. From Gaza to Tehran, from Damascus to Beirut, the face of the Middle East has been changed forever, and the U.S.-Israel relationship is stronger than it has ever been, in particular with the obliteration of Iran's nuclear weapons capabilities. We are encouraged that President Trump's bold plan to secure the immediate release of all remaining hostages from the tunnels of Gaza and to end the war that Hamas started is moving in a positive direction. As the president said, there must be no delay or excuse by Hamas, or all else the bets will be off. We pray for the swift and reunification of the hostages and their families, and for the peace of Israel. So as we watch all of those updates today, there's a live look there of the White House and the James S. Brady briefing room as they prep for a press briefing by none other than the superstar Karoline Leavitt, upcoming at 1 o'clock Eastern. So stick with us for all of those live looks. Now, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend on your web browser on a daily basis? Well, Perplexity has put together Comet. It's a new AI-powered browser. Again, from Perplexity. Unlock 1 month free of Rumble Premium. Browse at the speed of thought with Comet and get started at pplx.ai, and that is /RSBN. pplx.ai/RSBN. Browse at the speed of thought with Comet. Perplexity, the ingenuity behind it. So let's take a quick trip through this. You're searching, you're toggling, you're writing in all of your to-do list. How long does that take you? It could take 20 minutes, 2 hours in some cases, but this is what Comet will do for you. It's like having a personal secretary as a web browser. It will search, it will type, it will go through all of the legwork and find you what you need without taking very long at all. So say you're going on that business trip and you need to let John, your business associate, know where we're going to meet in Austin, Texas, a great city, by the way, for the best Tex-Mex that's out there. Well, the Perplexity AI-powered browser known as Comet will not only do the search, but will book the reservation for you, send the update in the calendar evite over to John, and have that all ready and set to go for you. So it sounds easy, right? Because it is. And it's nice to have a personal assistant. It's double nice to have that personal assistant when you're out on the town or prepping for that big business meeting. So Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more. So it gives you that peace of mind. So number one, Comet just doesn't give answers it actually gets things done. It's a web browser. So Comet can actually use all the accounts you're already logged onto to communicate with one another and take action across the web. Comet also does human works online. So it can type, scroll, fill out forms, just what you need. Mental clarity, energy saved. It is Perplexity from Comet, a great AI-powered engine that browses at the speed of thought. pplx.ai/RSBN. In the meantime, why don't you solve that debt? Because I know how annoying that can be. It's your money. It's your future. PDSdebt.com/RSBN can break you free from that. No credit score required. See if you qualify in as little as 30 seconds. Secure, free quotes, custom options. PDSdebt.com/RSBN. Debt from credit cards is not an accident. It's a system built to keep Americans down. The banks will profit. The creditors win. Families lose. Every fee, high interest app, and trap is another reminder that can bog you down. The game is rigged. So cutting debt, ending the calls, and getting you back on your financial footing. That's what we want to do here at RSBN and PDSdebt.com/RSBN, helping with those free assessments to break you free from debt. Whether you're struggling with credit card, personal loans, or even medical bills, PDS Debt has custom options to help you get plugged in and to solve this debt crisis. There's no minimum credit score required, which helps you to get your debt paid off faster and start putting money back where it belongs, your pocket. A+ ratings from the Better Business Bureau. Also, thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, holding a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. This is the go-to. It's your money. It's your future. Don't let the system bog you down. It's less than 30 seconds. So call today. Do not delay. Secure, free quotes, custom options. Again, no credit score required. PDSdebt.com/RSBN. PDSdebt.com/RSBN, your go-to for that free assessment, as we have a live look there of the James S. Brady briefing room, the West Wing of the White House, where Karoline Leavitt prays with her team of press and communications professionals beforehand. I'm always excited to see who's in the hot seat, the new press seat, the new media. It's a small room in there. I've been there a couple of times, and it is where the old White House pool once was. So you actually could see that as you highlight the windows as you go by, and you see, oh, this looks like an indoor pool. Well, it was once the location for that, and now the press briefing room, and it is quite small. So even 10 people in there can feel like a cramped space, and they get in, gosh, how many, 40, 50, maybe more reporters at a time, and that conservative new media outlet, they're usually standing up. I think some of the old establishment media could give up their seats every once in a while, but sometimes people get a little bit irate over where they get to sit in the press briefing room. Regardless if you're standing or sitting, I prefer to stand, but it's always good to bring you this unbridled access to your 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief and to his White House as we are approaching a quarter two. So stick with us as the president's superstar, the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, to hold a press briefing briefly as we go out through the news of the day, really bleeding over from and running off of the news of last week, whether it's peace in the Middle East, good developments with that. Also, the grand spectacle that was yesterday, 10,000 sailors, aviators, Marines, all there. The Department of Navy celebrating 250 years, a birthday we're celebrating in this golden era. If we cut to cut 6, Mr. Producer, OPEC still on the mind of the president, as he stated that before I became president, OPEC kept oil prices high. I remember experiencing this as an intern for Congressman Peter Roskam back in the 6th District of Illinois during my college years, but it wasn't right for them to do that. In a high, different form, it's being done again, this time by the big home builders of our nation. They're my friends, and they're very important to the success of our country, but now they can get financing, they can get the start to building these homes, and they're sitting on 2 million empty lots, a record. I'm asking Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to get big home builders going, and by doing so, help restore the American dream. And that's what this president is focused on, just that, the American dream, while addressing that issue with the Navy just yesterday. As we can replay again, cut 4, Mr. Producer, Trump was speaking again to those sailors. In case you missed it, here's really the bulk of his message to these war fighters that are truly extraordinary and experiencing really a surplus in recruitments across all of the branches of the United States military.
We're honored to be joined today by service members representing every part of this great naval tradition. Our incredible surface warriors are the reason America's enemies tremble at the sight of a Navy ship haze gray or underway. The instant U.S. carrier, cruiser, or destroyer breaks across the horizon, every tyrant and adversary on the planet knows their choice is very simple. It's leave America in peace or be blown up in fire and fury never seen before. All over the world, people know of the skill, nerve, swagger, and sheer attitude of the boldest and most daring pilots on the sea, the U.S. naval aviators, and I just got to witness it with Melania. They land screaming jets on pitching decks in the dark of night with no room for error. There's no room for error. The greatest pilots in the world. And while Navy pilots rain down pain from above, the greatest adversaries fear the daring deeds of our silent service below. They prowl and strike from crushing depths, unseen, undetected, and unstoppable. They are our brave submariners. Where are the submariners? And they are brave. The most lethal weapon in the world, I will tell you, nobody knows where it is, and what it carries is nothing that carries weaponry like that. And we're 25 years ahead of any other country when it comes to submarines. Nobody's even close. Nobody can match us. No roll call of Navy warriors would be complete without recognizing some of the fiercest and most elite commandos in the history of war. They are the toughest, and there's nobody tougher. There's just nobody. That's what they tell me. There's nobody tougher. Called the Navy SEALs. What do you think about the Navy SEALs? Where are the Navy SEALs? We're not going to mess with the Navy SEALs. They are great. Thank you very much. Incredible people. And, of course, our enemies have learned to dread that special cast of warriors who have charged forward almost everywhere America has seized a stronghold or stormed a beachhead. They call themselves the Leathernecks, the Jarheads, the Devil Dogs, but we revere them as the United States Marines.
In addition to those comments, President Trump has pledged that the military will continue being funded through this Democrat Chuck Schumer-led shutdown. So let's go to cut 5 once again, Mr. Producer. In case you missed these comments from earlier yesterday and today, President Trump pledging that the funding will continue.
The U.S. Navy always stands for America. As your commander-in-chief, I will always stand for you. I promise you that. You know that. That's why you voted for me in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And I want you to know that despite the current Democrat-induced shutdown, we will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's all coming. It's coming. And even more because I'm supporting the across-the-board pay raises for every sailor and service member of the United States Armed Forces. But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it.
Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN for the 6-piece towel set special. It's a great sale happening right now. It's back in stock. Normally goes for $70, now down to under $40 at $39.98. This will go fast. A very limited quantity, in fact. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566, mypillow.com/RSBN. And I can tell you, too, the people on the other side, they are in Minnesota. The factories and facilities of Mike Lindell, also producing everything right here in America. So high-quality American-made products, taking some of the best cotton from around the world, including those Giza Dream Sheets, if you've ever experienced those from the Mediterranean. Really fantastic cotton that even rivals the cotton that's right down here in Alabama, the great state of Alabama as well. So 6-piece towel sets back in stock for comfort, also to actually get you dry after you take your shower or bath, because imagine that, some towels just don't do the job. But Mike Lindell always focused on high quality with a Christian spirit behind that. And I could tell you from my time at Truth Social to being on the campaign trail, he hires the most high quality, most wonderful people. So you definitely will enjoy a phone call with them today if you have the time. But I would call today. Don't delay. Again, 800-836-7566. The 6-piece towel sets, they will go fast. A very limited quantity. 2,000 items that can help you with your evening, your morning, from slippers to sheets to pillows to these towel sets to a delicious coffee as well. Some of the best coffee that's out there, free and fairly traded. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting, mypillow.com/RSBN. If you like what you see with your go-to live desk, which we love you, the viewers out there who provided us with this amazing constitutional government back on November 5th with your votes, peacefully and patriotically reclaiming your government and your country in turn. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. We also have a good address for that as well. Checks and money orders, we won't say no. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or feel free to text 801-801. We are very appreciative, as we are not a corporate outlet. We are small but mighty, and we're focused on bringing you every speech, every press conference, every press briefing, every hearing, so you know what your government is doing inside and outside of the Beltway. And if you wish to opine, feedback at rsbn.tv, feedback at rsbn.tv. The best way to do it, as we are on air on this lovely Monday in America. It's October 6, 2025. We are in the fall season. That means football. It means baseball playoffs. It means what can you do to make your country better as we approach 2026 with crucial elections happening in New Jersey, Virginia, New York City, with a mayoral race with Mr. Mondani, the Democrat nominee, who happens to be a full-blown socialist, admittedly, but looks more like a communist in what he wants to do to America's largest city. And we'll watch that race closely and get some analysis as that is approaching quickly. November 4th is the election date. I believe all three of those major races now underway with early balloting. And you might have a mayoral race in your neck of the woods. We had one here in Opelika a month ago. They'll be taking office on November 4th, in fact, on that election date. And my adopted hometown, Sandy Springs, Georgia, will have the same election date as the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Garden State of New Jersey, and also the Big Apple of New York City coming up November 4th. But early voting likely underway for all of those contests. So what's happening in your neck of the woods, you might want to watch, because it's a great precursor for what will come in the midterms of 2026. And I can guarantee you that Right Side Broadcasting Network will be there for all of the action as we break down the news happening today. There's a disability rule plan the Trump administration is reportedly weighing ending age factor in disability cases, but the White House denies any of that change. Maybe we'll have some of those questions forthcoming to Karoline Leavitt in a matter of moments here. But we know that peace in the Middle East being discussed at this very moment. But cut number 7, Mr. Producer, we noticed that some people out there, some commentators, like Al Sharpton, I really can't call him a reverend because this man is not a man of God. He spews leftist hate, division, and racism on almost a daily basis from ABC fake news. And President Trump stating that I knew Al Sharpton for many years. Not that it matters, but he was a major Trump fan. In fact, you could find the pictures in the 1980s of Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson hugging and shaking hands with the greatest businessman who's ever existed, President Donald Trump, in New York City, because President Trump was the one on the forefront in Dixiecrat, West Palm Beach. It's a much better town now, but once Jews and blacks were not allowed in the clubs. Guess who got invited to Mar-a-Lago? Blacks and Jews under President Trump's leadership because he did not discriminate. In fact, all of this Epstein talk, he dragged that jerk out of the Mar-a-Lago club by the ear because of he was abusing and sexually harassing wait staff at the Mar-a-Lago club. It's just a fact based on countless people who were actually observing that. So it's amazing how people change their tune after he becomes president. But President Trump stating that Al Sharpton would ask me to go to his fake rallies all of the time because I brought big crowds and he couldn't get anybody to come without me. Then he did the Tawana Brawley hoax, one of the worst low-level scams in history, and that set him back big time. Then he got to know Brian Roberts, the chairman of Fake News NBC, who gave him one of the lowest rated shows in television history. And Roberts is afraid to take him off because it wouldn't be politically correct. That's just one of the many reasons that the Federal Communications Commission should look into the license at NBC, which shows almost exclusively positive Democrat content. Likewise, ABC Fake News, about the same thing, 97% negative to Republicans. So something to think about as we go into further 250 years of the golden era of this great nation. And Al Sharpton has always been a con artist. I think that's still been very clear by the leftist rhetoric that he spews on a near daily basis. But once a President Trump fan, now not apparently because of his overlords over at Fake News ABC. But that doesn't stop President Trump from continuing on his mission to make America great again. And we saw that just yesterday with the speech on just off of the port of the USS Harry S. Truman at the naval base known as Norfolk, the largest world naval base, in fact, home to America's Navy. And it was after a weekend of success for the Navy against Air Force on the gridiron. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth there for that and giving a speech to the midshipmen in the football garb. And it was really a wonderful time. So clearly this military loves its civilian leadership, from Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Those uniformed ICE officials and our state and local police officers with Secretary Noam, who has gone on these raids from DHS in conjunction with the Department of Justice and FBI Director Kash Patel, ultimately all appointed by President Trump, approved in some cases by the Senate there for the cabinet, which attempted to delay those appointments. And now the Undersecretary Hung Cao, really an up-and-comer in the Republican Party, especially in the Commonwealth of Virginia, a Navy SEAL veteran himself, now as the Undersecretary, the Senate finally confirming that on October 3rd, and him taking office, being sworn in by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. And in case you missed it, right after that, we'll go to that cut there. but 14 of what President Trump did. We'll showcase that once again before going to Karoline Leavitt. But in the meantime, Family Pharmacy, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, your go-to online pharmacy for ivermectin, mebendazole, now 25% off. And with all the cancer research funding going on in the free sunshine state of Florida, $60 million in fact, no better time than to get your hands on ivermectin and mebendazole with an additional code RSBN10 for an extra 10% off. This life-saving medication from NAD Plus to mebendazole and also methylene blue, ivermectin, 200 essential medications with emergency medical kits and Tamiflu ready to go for the fall flu season. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code now and check in on your wealth. Robert Kiyosaki really recommends this group as two banks failing in 2025. It's monetary gold for wealth security, also preservation. Grab your complimentary presidential gold guide today. Call today, don't delay. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently and for life at rsbnforthegold.com. It's 888-617-7994, rsbnforthegold.com. It's gold and silver commodities that you can diversify your retirement savings, pensions, and protections. Paper money and $37 trillion in debt simply won't cut it. And whether it's buying your first house or creating generational wealth for your kids, grandkids, or great-grandkids, monetary gold is the best in the business. 888-617-7994 to learn more, or rsbnforthegold.com. Eliminate those IRA fees permanently. At 1 o'clock Eastern, we are expecting Karoline Leavitt moments from now. And good afternoon, America. Also, good morning on the West Coast and in the mountain time zones as our media colleagues are doing their hits very quickly before Karoline comes out from the West Wing into the press briefing room named after James S. Brady of the Reagan administration. Another week of shutdown videos really being perplexing for this administration, thanks to Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. We can play that now as the minority leader, number 14, Mr. Producer, the minority leader continues to lock down this government.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
And as much fun as it is to poke fun at the Democrats, they do it to themselves. I mean, it's really amazing because they want to fund illegal aliens with your hard-earned tax money and in turn also shut down the government and defund rural hospitals. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And within the proposal of what was a CR passed out of the House, the Republicans did not agree to it. So it was actually written down in the legislation. So they can't run from it. They'll try to spin it every which way, but we know that they can't hide from that. But regardless, President Trump in cut number 13, Mr. Producer, focused on the mighty military and our Navy, which will continue to be funded as it approaches its 250th birthday.
The U.S. Navy has always been the iron will of a proud and mighty nation, pushing forward through the currents and through the spray of raging combat and the fog of naval war. From the American Revolution until today, the story of the U.S. Navy is a tale of loyalty, sacrifice, and commitment stretching back 250 years. The Navy has never failed to hunt, kill, and to win. Through it all, the United States Navy has kept the stars and stripes soaring high and proud above. You've conquered raging oceans and braved ferocious storms to vanquish America's enemies. America's Navy never, ever gives up the ship. We own the skies, we stalk the depths. and we rule the seas. God bless the United States Navy.
I had the privilege over the weekend of, by surprise, I was on the phone and 2 F-18s came flying over where I was located. I'm assuming from Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, doing some dogfights and training, but the wheels were down. And if you've ever been over that, it is quite the sight and sound to watch our military in action, especially our fighting forces in the air, whether it be Navy or Air Force, as they battled on the gridiron in an outstanding college football game at the Naval Academy this weekend in Annapolis, Maryland. The Secretary of War, his lovely wife, Jenny, there on hand with family to interact with Naval and Air Force recruits. So very exciting to see all of that. We actually have playback from the weekend in case you missed this 34-31 victory, Navy over Air Force, from Saturday.
You know what? Nothing else matters. You got it done. Yes, sir. You got it done. In fact, the best wins are the ones where it takes you a while. Defense doesn't show up right away. Offense doesn't show up right away. Listen, you're hearing this from a all-conference honorable mention. Wide receiver, Forest Lake High School, Minnesota. I didn't go deep. I ran slant routes right across the middle. Let me tell you, I couldn't respect more what you did. You pounded through the game. When you needed a stop at the end, you got the big stop. When you needed a first down, you got the first down. That's going to be your life, not just in this game, but for the rest of your life when you're wearing a different kind of uniform. There's going to be shitty days. There's going to be tough days. There's going to be frustrations. You're going to have bad leaders. You're going to have good leaders, clear missions, and missions with no clarity at all. And what you do in those moments is what's going to be the difference between life and death for the men, for the Americans, for the sailors, for the SEALs, for the Marines that you lead in the future. You are their compass. They will look to you, just like you look to your quarterback, or your linebackers, or your O-line, to say, hey, I'm on you, I'm on your back, we're going north. You did that today. I love the Air Force. They don't have it on you today. So it is an honor to be your Secretary of War. You are in the War Department. I don't know if you saw, I gave a little speech on Tuesday. That's right, he's big. That's right. No more beardos. 2 PT tests, no matter who you are. Standards, discipline, accountability, readiness, all the things you hear from your professors, from the soup, from your coach, and from your commanders. It's the basics. It's blocking and tackling of leadership, of command. That's what you're learning here. That's what your formations need. That's what the country needs. And all I know, and I never did anything near what all of you have done here at this academy, at this institution. All I know when I was a young rifle platoon leader, all I wanted to know is that my commander had my back. When I had to do difficult things, when I had to do things in dangerous places in the middle of the night, did they have my back, even if I make a mistake? Let me tell you this, from President Trump to all of you, we have your back. The nation has your back. Your leadership has your back. Stick to it. Fight like hell. Do what you did on the field today, and America will never, ever go wrong. QB, where's my QB? Well done. Well done. Where's my linebackers in here? Oh, all right. Right? Who's the defensive cap? No way. Last thing. I hope and pray. All glory to God. I hope and pray that someday one of my sons or daughter decides to make the decision you made at the age you made it. You put something bigger than yourself. You chose something bigger than yourself on day one. That means something. You have my respect because of it. And I'm going to work my ass off along with everybody we work with to make sure you have everything you need whenever you need it in the formations you have. Gentlemen, men, warriors, go Navy. Let's go.
and inspiring words from the Secretary of War over the course of the last several days as the warrior ethos is back in this country. And the far left can laugh about it, but it's those who are anti-military who don't understand the process. And I recommend that they find out what the traditions are and that the recruitment is through the roof. The proof is in the pudding as much as they want to spin it. The military is not one of their science experiments in woke and far-left lunacy, but rather a military readiness to be lethal, to be combative, and to end any threat against United States interests, period. And that's why you'd be a fool to mess with the United States of America. As the narco-terrorists found out just a couple of days ago, again from Venezuela, with a boat that was full of drugs that could have killed 25 to 50,000 of Americans, citizens and residents. So it's smart to not want to do that. As good night, 3, 2, 1. Boom, they're gone. I memorized that from over the weekend. That was a lot of fun to watch. And unclassified directly from @real Donald Trump, the president of the United States, authorizing that through the generals to eliminate all threats coming across the Atlantic into the Gulf of America from Venezuela. So they should learn a thing or two about allowing the worst of the worst to come out into our waters and ultimately trying to approach our country, whether it be through Miami, through the free state of Florida, or elsewhere along the Gulf Coast or the eastern seaboard, and in turn, the West Coast as well. Our Coast Guard doing an extraordinary job to eliminate all threats. And it's amazing to allow those in uniform to do their jobs, how swiftly and how good they are at it, whether it's our police, local to state authorities, also all the way up to ICE and the federal authorities doing an amazing job. President Trump now authorizing 300 National Guard troops to go into the city of Chicago. And today, Brandon Johnson, the failed mayor of the Windy City, signing an executive order that is likely unconstitutional because the federal immigration enforcement is under the prowess of the federal government and the enforcement of thereof, the executive Article 2 branch of our government. And he's allegedly forcing all ICE agents out of public areas or even where they might be assembling in private areas as well. I think that's up to the ownership of those private entities. But regardless, the mayor of Chicago does not have that authority. In turn, Illinois, the state of Illinois, suing the Trump administration as a result of getting that law enforcement into the city. But we've seen with residents their comments that they're actually welcoming these ICE agents to make the city safer. As the same thing happened, California National Guard being called up and moved into Portland, Oregon because of the violence, and independent journalists like Katie Daviscourt being struck in the eye, giving her a black eye by one of those Antifa thugs that was in the streets of Portland, attempting to make it a severed zone or something similar to what we saw in Seattle, Washington during the Summer of Love and the woke nonsense following the George Floyd riots. And what a difference it has been in America 2025 to 2020. When, remember, Senator Rand Paul and his wife Kelly coming out of President Trump's re-election speech and renomination on the South Lawn of the White House during COVID for the Republican National Convention, almost run over and abused, attacked from the Antifa left. If it wasn't for those Secret Service officers and the Washington Capitol Police, they would have been pummeled. And we've seen that with so many lawmakers, and some more than others. Senator Rand Paul, in fact, his neighbor tackled him when he was mowing the lawn. I mean, how low can you go? We continue to see this left-wing violence in America. It's not two sides, it's one side, and it's worth calling out. Whether it was Steve Scalise, who a shooter was inspired by crazy Bernie Sanders of Vermont to take his life during negotiations when it came to the budget and then continuing resolutions. And if it wasn't for Senators Jeff Flake and Rand Paul, two medical doctors right there to put the belt as a tourniquet on his leg, we wouldn't have the House leader, Steve Scalise, with us to this day. So this violence needs to stop. The far left needs to stop provoking it. People like the Attorney General candidate in the Commonwealth of Virginia need to stop threatening killing people, and legislators in their state. I mean, they never stop with it. And you can always say, oh, I want to play both sides of the aisle, so it is both sides. It's really not. It's one side. It's coming from the left, and we are not them on the right. Vigils, prayer services, honoring Charlie Kirk's life. I mean, these memorials that still span. There's one happening today as well that I saw across social media channels, all coming together in prayer. That was the response versus paid agitators that were on the left in response to George Floyd, someone who held a weapon to a pregnant woman's stomach. I mean, that's the truth of what happened. And although we were happy that he seemed to be getting in the right direction, if you watch the entirety of that video and what happened in Minnesota, he was higher than a kite with police trying to restrain him in the appropriate manner. And I don't care if people think that's a popular or unpopular thing to say. I'm not going to run away from it as someone who has been in mainstream journalism and on the right side of history, the correct side of history. Call balls and strikes. And also cover it when it is simply opinion. But if you actually look at the entirety of most of these videos, that the far left doctor, as a result of trying to put out a narrative, and then, oh, nothing to see here. Remember that report from the Clinton News Network dating back a few years? Oh, it's a mostly peaceful protest here in Wisconsin. Oh, in the background, though, there's flames engulfing the Shell station to different private restaurants and enterprises. It's amazing to watch what took place just a few short years ago into this revival that we're seeing not only in our government, but in our churches. As Karoline Leavitt will hold a press briefing momentarily, let's go there live to the James S. Brady briefing room as we should expect her any time now with the monitors. When the monitors are on, it means that Karoline is about to step out, and it's a full house once again today at the White House, the most transparent administration in American history. We've seen it on a daily basis and how much fun it is to cover all of that, because whether it's in the Oval Office, on a press gaggle outside of the White House, as President Trump will get on Marine One or even off of Marine One to Air Force One, as we had the opportunity to ask him questions directly back in March over St. Patrick's Day. We took the flight with him from Joint Base Andrews down to the free Sunshine State of Florida. This president and his administration extraordinarily transparent, answering those questions given by all media, right, left, and center. And that's the way it should be in America. We live in a democracy, a constitutional republic, whose very foundation is to ask those questions of our leaders. We don't have a ruler. We don't have a king. And although with these No Kings protests going on all over the place, we know that nothing is further from the truth, because this president has to work through the legislature and the Congress in order to get things done on a daily basis. At 1:15 on the East Coast, we should have Karoline Leavitt just moments from now at this press briefing, the James S. Brady briefing room. They're live at the White House, and it is more packed than it has ever been. This administration focused again on that transparency in order to make America great again. And like the late, great Charlie Kirk said, the more dialogue there is, the more discussion, the more peace, the more understanding, to actually put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, especially those who you might debate with, how good and how wise that is, because once a civilization stops talking, then you have things like violence that have been pushed by the far left in this country. And so we'll see if we have any updates on peace in the Middle East, any updates on the government shutdown led by Chuck Schumer of New York, and whether we have any further legislation. It's Karoline Leavitt. Let's go there live now to the press briefing today.
Excited to see me today. All righty. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Monday. Let's get to it, and we'll begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will be hosting the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow for a working meeting here at the White House. On Thursday, the president will host his 8th cabinet meeting alongside his incredible team. Also on Thursday afternoon, President Trump will host the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, for a working meeting here at the White House. The president also wanted me to relay his congratulations to Japan for electing their next prime minister, a highly respected person who also happens to be the first female to hold the position for our great ally. While President Trump continues to negotiate peace deals, meets with world leaders, and celebrates the 250th birthday of our United States Navy, as you saw he and the First Lady do just yesterday, Democrats, unfortunately, are continuing to play political games. And we are now in day 6 of the Democrat federal government shutdown. Millions of American federal workers are under enormous financial stress as a result, wondering how they will pay their bills and take care of their families. If the Democrats do not vote to open the government tonight, federal workers will not receive their next full paycheck. Additionally, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of federal money very soon. This program provides vouchers to buy infant formula, fresh fruits and vegetables, and other healthy foods for low-income families. It can be easily fully funded if Democrats simply vote tonight to reopen the government. Also, our incredible military service members who risk their lives to preserve and defend our country are now working without pay and will miss their next paychecks if this Democrat shutdown does not end tonight. The Republican-backed clean and nonpartisan funding bill fully funds this important food aid program, gets our troops paid, and reopens the government. So all of this begs the question, what is the Democrat ongoing shutdown truly about? The sad truth, we believe, is that the Democrats intentionally shut down the government and are inflicting this pain on American citizens to try and demand free health care for illegal aliens. Of course, this is an indefensible and truly radical policy to be in favor of, let alone to use as the primary reason to shut down the United States government. So the Democrats and their allies are desperately lying about their true motivations. We have to set the record straight with the facts so the American people understand what's really at play here. House Republicans passed a clean and nonpartisan funding bill to keep the government open and ensure our troops and other hardworking Americans are paid. Every single House Democrat except one voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding bill. Senate Republicans have subsequently tried to pass this same clean funding bill 4 separate times, and they will do so again tonight, to fully pass it to be sent to the president's desk for signature. And the president is ready to sign this bill to reopen the government as soon as it is sent to his desk. Yet every single Senate Democrat except 3 have voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding bill. The Democrats' current position is that the only way the American government can reopen is if illegal aliens can get free health care. Don't take my word for it, just look at what's inside of the Democrats' proposal to reopen the government. Their funding proposal would result in nearly $200 billion spent on health care for illegal aliens and other non-citizens over the next decade. To put this in perspective, $200 billion is enough money to fund the entire children's health insurance program, which provides health insurance to low-income children and women. Under the Democrats' proposal, the millions of illegal aliens who improperly were granted asylum and paroled under the Biden administration would once again be allowed to receive Medicaid benefits. It does not end there. The Democrat proposal would also require Medicaid to pay more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. The Democrat Party has unfortunately closed our government, costing Americans their jobs, threatening our military readiness, harming our economy, and causing chaos, all to help the illegals who broke into our country. Instead of holding illegal aliens accountable and removing them from our country, which is what this administration is trying to do every day, the Democrats want to give them the free benefits paid for by the American taxpayer. Democrats in 2025 are for illegal aliens first and Americans last. This is the reality we are unfortunately facing right now in Washington, D.C. President Trump and Republicans will not give in to these radical demands. The president and Republicans have a sacred responsibility to serve and protect the interests of their constituents, the American people. That's why we are backing a clean and nonpartisan funding bill with no strings attached to reopen the government. Democrats should do what they did 13 separate times under Joe Biden and vote for this exact same type of funding bill. Now the Senate will vote tonight for the 5th time to reopen the government on the 6th day of this shutdown. All we need are an additional 5 Democrat senators to end this madness and vote for the clean funding bill to reopen the government. If you are an American watching at home right now, call your Democrat senators and tell them to do the right thing and end this shutdown. With that, I will take your questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have Elizabeth Mitchell from the Daily Signal. Elizabeth, thanks for being here, and please kick us off.
Thank you for having me. I have 2 questions. First, President Trump told reporters yesterday that firings of federal employees are taking place right now. In which departments have people already been fired from their federal jobs due to the shutdown?
The president was referring to the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have been furloughed as a result of this federal government shutdown, both here at the White House and across the entire federal government, at agencies across the board. There are federal workers who are staying home. Many of them work in the White House. You know them. Some of them sit just behind me at those desks. They are unable to show up to work right now because the Democrats chose to shut the government down. And so we're already, unfortunately, seeing the consequence of this. And then, of course, the Office of Management and Budget is continuing to work with agencies on who, unfortunately, is going to have to be laid off if this shutdown continues.
And Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the FDA was required by federal law to approve the new abortion pill last week. Is the administration considering steps to undo this in light of requests from pro-life Congress members and organizations?
I think Secretary Kennedy and the Department of Health and Human Services, as I addressed in the briefing last week, were following the law, and we will continue to do so. As I said last week as well, it's not an endorsement of this drug by any means. It's just a law that they were following. Jennifer.
We heard you say that you want people to call their Democratic senators. Is the president calling Democratic senators himself? Can you say what he's doing today to resolve the shutdown?
Yep, I was just in the Oval Office. He was on the phone with Speaker Johnson. He's also spoken with the Senate Majority Leader, who are in touch with, of course, moderate Democrats and Democrats across the board, who we understand hopefully want to do the right thing by their constituents to reopen the government. So the president is being kept very well apprised of the ongoing shutdown on Capitol Hill. And of course, his position is very clear. There's nothing to negotiate, just reopen the government, and then we can talk about all the important issues facing our country.
So he hasn't called specific members of Congress?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And then on the Affordable Care Act, is he willing to give more, to share more on what he'd like to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act later? Is he willing to say specifically what he would like and when?
Look, the president is definitely committed to fixing and improving our healthcare system. You saw it again last week when he had one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world coming into the Oval Office and promising to lower drug prices by 200, 300, 100% in many cases for various types of drugs for American patients. That is a huge fix to a broken system that has been ripping off the American people for far too long. So the president's very committed to this. But right now, we need to reopen the federal government, and the president is remaining very firm in that position. Catherine.
If the vote fails in the Senate today to reopen the government, would that trigger layoffs?
Look, again, we hope that the vote will not fail because this administration wants to reopen the government. We don't want to see people laid off. But unfortunately, if this shutdown continues, layoffs are going to be an unfortunate consequence of that.
Is there a timing for when that would happen?
Well, look, we'll see how the vote goes tonight.
Is the White House floating a proposal to cap Obamacare subsidies by denying them to new enrollees?
I have not seen a proposal like that. Emily.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday he was considering a phase 2 approach to Venezuela. Is the president considering U.S. boots on the ground or any kind of support of overthrowing Maduro?
I won't get into any specific proposals that are being considered by the president and his national security team, but I think we've been pretty transparent and clear in the administration's view of the illegitimate Maduro regime, and the president has taken very unprecedented, tough action to end the illegal trafficking of illicit drugs into our country from Maduro's illegitimate regime.
Caroline.
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The French government has collapsed again for the fourth time in a year. And I was just wondering if there's any concern in the White House about the kind of ongoing political crisis there, and any thought about whether the President Trump's good friend, President Macron, should either call elections or even resign over that.
Well, I can tell you the White House and the National Security Council are very much aware of this situation, but I think it would be imprudent of me to weigh in on French internal politics from the podium, so I will reserve comment on that. Behind you, yes.
What is President Trump's expectations for talks today and I guess this week in Egypt?
And is there a new timeline that the president is giving all sides to reach an agreement?
Yes. There are technical talks happening right now in Egypt amongst Special Envoy Witkoff and Mr. Kushner, as well as their respective parties from all sides. What we saw take place on Friday, and I have not commented on that from the podium yet, is truly remarkable. You've seen all sides of this conflict agree that this war needs to end and agree to the 20-point framework that President Trump proposed. It's an incredible achievement, and the administration is working very hard to move the ball forward as quickly as we can. The president wants to see a ceasefire. He wants to see the hostages released, and the technical teams are discussing that as we speak to ensure that the environment is perfect to release those hostages. They're going over the lists of both the Israeli hostages and also the political prisoners who will be released, and those talks are underway, and the president is very much on the ball and is being apprised of this situation.
The president had given a Sunday evening deadline. Obviously, the negotiations have extended that, I imagine. What is that new deadline? Does the president have a time frame in mind to see this phase implemented?
Well, the Sunday evening deadline was to hear back from Hamas on the proposal one way or another. And of course, on Friday, Hamas put out a very clear statement in the president's view that they accept the president's framework, and that's why those technical talks are now underway. But again, we want to move very quickly on this, and the president wants to see the hostages released as soon as possible. Steve.
How long do you expect those technical talks to last, Caroline?
I don't want to draw a red line up here, Steve. Of course, it's very important, as I just mentioned, that we get this done quickly. That's how the president's team feels, so we can get some momentum, get the hostages out, and then move to the next part of this, which is really ensuring that we can create a lasting and durable peace in Gaza and ensure that Gaza is a place that no longer threatens the security of Israel or the United States.
What do you expect to be on the agenda for the president's meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada tomorrow?
I'm sure trade will be a topic of discussion tomorrow and all of the other issues that are facing both Canada and the United States. I know the president looks forward to having that discussion with Carney in the Oval Office. Caitlin.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. On the layoff of federal workers, potentially, the president said yesterday that Democrats will be to blame if federal workers lose their jobs. Historically, though, in past shutdowns, workers have been furloughed, but they have not been laid off en masse. So wouldn't that be the president's call to lay people off?
As I've said repeatedly, Caitlin, this conversation about layoffs would not be happening right now if the Democrats did not vote to shut the government down. And as I also said last briefing as well, we are $37 trillion in debt, and the government is not receiving any cash. So someone has to look at the balance sheet and be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that.
Term, for example.
Well, as I'm telling you now, this administration is focusing on checking the balance sheet and ensuring we're doing the right thing by the American taxpayer. And again, these conversations about layoffs would not be happening in the White House today if not for the Democrat shutdown. And they have a choice to change that. They have another opportunity tonight to do the right thing to reopen the government. Joey.
Judge over the weekend. Sorry, my second question. A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland. Basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly. And we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this. And we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that
the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Yeah, Karoline.
Stephen, go ahead.
Thank you, Karoline. Two questions. First, do you have a reaction to reports that thousands of Cuban troops are deployed alongside Russia fighting in Ukraine? And on a very different matter, the president last week floated in an interview with our colleague Daniel from One America a rebate for tariffs of up to $2,000 per person. Is that plan contingent on the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on the legality of the tariffs? And is the White House preparing for legislation to make that happen?
Sure. On the first point, I have not seen that report, Stephen, but I'll check in with our national security team after this and we'll get you an update. To your second point about the tariff rebates, I think it's an idea that the president has discussed and floated with his team of advisors, but no decision has been firmly made at this point in time. Why don't we go to the back? Owen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A few days ago, President Trump demanded Jay Jones of Virginia get out of the race for condoning political violence in a text message against a Republican politician a few years ago. He hasn't left the race. He hasn't dropped out. What's the president's reaction?
Well, as you know, I'm not at liberty to discuss political races from the podium. I think the president himself made his position very clear, and I think anyone could agree the messages that were sent by this Democrat nominee for Attorney General in Virginia are really shocking, alarming, and completely unacceptable. He was threatening to kill his opponent and his opponent's children, and that type of rhetoric has zero place in our country, and the president was absolutely right to condemn that.
One more, please.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. The Democrats have questioned and scrutinized the president's comments about using potentially the military, American cities, as training grounds for the military. And when you look at Portland, Chicago, local and state officials say that their local law enforcement is able to handle the situations, these protests on the ground. The president says that Portland is burning, using that as justification for the National Guard in Portland. But when you look here in Washington, D.C., the president just last week said it is now a completely safe city, and there are still National Guard members on the streets that are not involved in ICE activities. Can you provide the justification for the White House here in Washington, D.C., why the National Guard members continue to be out on the streets?
Because Washington, D.C. has invited the National Guard here. Why? Because the mayor is doing the right thing, unlike mayors in other cities like Portland, as Caitlin and others have pointed out, who refuse to see that there are positive results from when local law enforcement works with federal law enforcement to do the right thing on behalf of their citizens. And Washington, D.C. is no doubt a safer city right now, today, than it was a few months ago when President Trump started this initiative to make D.C. safe again. And the National Guard is still here because the president and the mayor agree that it's a good thing for the city. Just like you're seeing in Memphis, for instance. We'll have National Guard deployed to Memphis. We have federal agents who are on the ground working with state and local law enforcement. The state police in Tennessee are part of this effort. The local metropolitan police in Memphis are part of this effort. State and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement should be working together. And it's a shame that we see in some cities across the country that their mayors are just simply refusing to cooperate because they don't like Donald Trump. And that's what this boils down to. And I don't think any American would disagree that Chicago needs more law enforcement reinforcements, that they need more resources. Look at this headline from over the weekend. At least 30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. 5 of them were killed in one weekend. This is completely unacceptable, and the president wants to make American cities safer, and he's willing to work with anyone to do it.
If the courts allow you to ultimately send in the National Guard into Chicago and Portland, do Democrats not have reason to be concerned that there are long-term plans by this administration to keep U.S. military or the National Guard in American cities, like what we're seeing here in Washington?
Why should they be concerned about the federal government offering help to make their cities a safer place? They should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the fact that people in their cities right now are being gunned down every single night. And the president, all he's trying to do is fix it. And there has been a complete smear campaign by the Democrats and the media, quite frankly. I was reading Political Playbook this morning, one of the most inside the Beltway newsletters you can find. And you guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. And we have already seen there's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly. Our streets are safer. People who live here feel safer. All of you in this room, I know you do. You just won't admit it. And it's a proven system that works, and the president wants to make America's cities safe again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions, if I may.
Because the mayor wants them. Michael.
These talks in Egypt, if Hamas does agree to relinquish power and give it up, cede power to this transitional technocratic government, if that does happen, would the Trump administration then recognize a Palestinian state?
Look, I don't want to get ahead of the technical talks right now, Michael. They're extremely sensitive. They're taking place, again, as we speak, and there's a lot of, there's many things to discuss, of course. This is hopefully we expect and we hope going to be one of the greatest peace deals this world has ever seen. And the Trump administration is working diligently and working very hard to get there. And as I said, Friday, all terms agreed. We have the Arab countries who are working with us. Of course, Israel has been incredible in cooperating with the president's plan and agreeing to it. And we're very hopeful, and we expect that to continue.
You tweeted about this over the weekend.
Thank you. I was going to you in the blue shirt and tie.
Oh, thank you,
yes,
Caroline.
You're welcome.
The Daily Mail. Today, the Supreme Court declined to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Will Trump rule out granting her clemency? Is that something the White House is considering?
It's not something I've heard discussed, and we don't comment on clemency requests that may or may not have been made, but I'm certainly not tracking that one at this point in time.
Caroline.
Jordan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. So we're talking about these radical groups in Portland and Chicago. I know the president has spoken about potentially going after George Soros with RICO charges and for funding all of this violence. Has there been any update on that? And also, is the administration looking into the other nonprofits, maybe taking away their 501c3 status for funding this violence? And one more question.
Sure. The financial backing of these groups, particularly Antifa, is certainly something the administration is looking into aggressively. And the federal government has never really been mobilized or tasked with doing that. So we're kind of kickstarting that into gear. The FBI is working on it alongside the White House's Homeland Security Task Force. We have our intelligence community looking into this as well. And even the Secretary of Treasury is involved with these matters since they are financial in nature. And we will continue to get to the bottom of who is funding these organizations in this organized anarchy against our country and our government. It's a question the American people have been begging the answer for many years, and we're committed to uncovering it. And when we do, I'm sure you'll be one of the first people to know.
Separately, Caroline.
Thank you. So Gaza, under the president's plan, is going to be governed by a transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts. Now, given how radicalized the Palestinian population is in Gaza and in the West Bank, can you offer some insight or guidance into who are some of these Palestinians that are going to be considered for leadership roles in Gaza, and where are you going to be finding them, and do you have any names?
We're not quite there yet, Jonathan. The president believes peace is possible in Gaza, and that's why he presented this detailed and comprehensive plan. The first step of that is securing a ceasefire and releasing the hostages. And then those conversations about ensuring a durable and lasting peace can continue. But what do you need to have peace in a region like Gaza that's been war-torn for far too long? You need security guarantees and you need good governance. And so those will be two of the priorities that this administration is focused on.
If I may, the president has said he wants the government to reopen this week in a deal. What's going to happen by the end of the week if there's no deal? What's the White House prepared to do?
With no deal with what?
To reopen the government.
Look, as I said, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of pain inflicted. There already is on the American public, on our troops who are not being paid, again, on women and young children who depend on critical food assistance. We hate to see this. And in fact, the Office of Management and Budget is trying to do everything they can to find funds to get out the door for these vulnerable populations in our country. Again, we shouldn't be having to do that. The Democrats have a chance to change course tonight. I believe the vote's taking place at 6:30, and we urge Democrat senators to vote to reopen the government and to do the right thing. Thanks, guys.
And Karoline Leavitt wrapping up the press briefing live from the James S. Brady briefing room today. Most pharmacies stop at the basics, but with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, they have ivermectin and mebendazole for 25% off. And there's only one pharmacy that truly does this different for you, the American people. Of course, they carry the essentials, antibiotics, Tamiflu, 200 essential medications. But again, ivermectin and mebendazole, where can you find that 25% off? Nowhere else. Code RSBN10 for an extra 10% off, in fact, of things like NAD Plus and methylene blue for energy, healthy aging and sharper focus, detox, immune support, biohacking and weight loss management, also emergency medical kits that you can take on the road. This is more than just medicine. It's about helping you feel and perform at your best. It's about taking care of your health and preparing for the worst and having the medicine cabinet stocked against the PBMs that won't or can't prescribe these life-saving medications. Ivermectin and mebendazole now going for 25% off. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there today for an extra 10% off. RSBN 10. No red tape, no bureaucracy, just doctors and pharmacists, nurses who care about your health at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And monetary gold for the win. It's RSBN for the gold.com. Well, security preservation. Grab the complimentary presidential gold guide today with 45 and 47 right on the front cover. Call today. Don't delay. It's 888-617-7994. That's how to eliminate your annual IRA fees for life. It's RSBN4thegold.com. Robert Kiyosaki, friend of the president, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm actually thinking about rereading that again. A great book that I read all the way back in college. I think it's coming up on its 20th anniversary now, about what the rich teach their family members and generations to follow that the middle class and the poor do not. Well, he warned us 2 banks failing this year, nearly 500 during the Obama administration. So what are you to do against inflation and against paper money? It can't be your hedge solely against inflation and with buying properties and other assets, and whether it is generational wealth, passing that down to family members, kids, great-grandkids, even the grandkids, everywhere in between. Monetary gold, silver, these precious commodities will protect you and have been doing so for 5,000 years of human history. So again, call today. Don't delay. 888-617-7994. RSBN4thegold.com. Monetary gold, wealth, securities, preservations of your retirement, your pensions, everything you worked hard for to diversify your income and wealth. RSBN4thegold.com. Monetary gold, truly the best in the business. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history, as you can get all America First updates and exclusive offers at Right Side Broadcasting Network. RSBnetwork.com/newsletter is your go-to on a picture-perfect Norman Rockwell-esque day right there at the White House. It looks like a painting, but that's a live shot there of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and I just adore the new flagpoles and Old Glory flying with grandeur over our White House and on the north and south lawns. This president putting his face, his stamp, truly on a White House in revival, a government in revival, the American church in revival on October 6, 2025. As it's 1:47 on the East Coast, I bid you adieu today. I'm Robert McNeely. For all of my colleagues at Right Side Broadcasting Network, tune in tomorrow. In case there's some breaking news, we'll be right back here with you. So always like, share, and subscribe, and keep up to date with us again at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter for the most up-to-date news, what's happening inside and outside of the Beltway and in your neck of the woods. For everyone here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, again, I'm Robert McNeely. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10%.